There are people who were never meant to become heroes, yet fate forces them to be. And Wang Lin is one of them. Born into an ordinary family, he carried a simple wish in his heart to cultivate immortality and repay his parents' kindness. But the world is never that kind. No talent, no background, no guidance, everything seemed to whisper to him, the path of cultivation is not for you. Yet in the midst of that hopelessness, Wang Lin chose something that very few have the courage to do. He kept going. He walked forward with stubbornness. He walked forward with longing. He walked forward with everything left in his resilient heart. A strange opportunity came to him, opening a path of cultivation drenched in blood and loneliness. There, every improvement required a sacrifice. Every step forward meant losing something precious. To grow stronger, he had to endure 100 times more than ordinary people. Renegade Immortal is the tale of a man who never submits. A man willing to defy the heavens, defy fate, and defy the world just to protect what his heart refuses to let go. This is not merely an immortal cultivation story. This is the journey of a soul so powerful that even eternity must bow. And today, I invite you to step into that journey, the journey of Wang Lin, the man who walks against the will of heaven to find the answer meant for himself. The old man watched Wang Lin disappear, sighed softly, and remained silent. Wang Lin flew through the second layer. After pondering for a while, he didn't immediately leave but flew towards the gate leading to the third layer. His goal this time was the reincarnation fruit. Leaving like this would be unsettling. Along the way, Wang Lin flew at a very fast speed. After a day and a night, he reached the far north. From afar, he could see the gate to the third layer. The place was littered with corpses. The smell of fresh blood permeated the air, and combined with the unpleasant atmosphere of the second layer, it created a kind of murderous aura. Old man who sat cross-legged at the entrance, his eyes closed, his face contorted in pain. Behind him, Sulua looked pathetic, her silver armor showing numerous damage and bloodstains. The girl's hair was disheveled, and there were 3 bloody scratches on her face, as if she had been clawed by an animal. Qiu Saiping, also among the group, looked slightly better, but his breathing was unstable, clearly indicating he was injured. All 3 of them cautiously looked towards Old Man Hu, a hint of fear in their eyes. Beside them stood a gigantic beast. It appeared to be a Zhuanwu. Old Man, who's thou beast? The thou beast also had many wounds and was lying prone on the ground. Its large, ferocious eyes carefully scanned the surroundings, occasionally letting out low growls. Wang Lin's approach immediately attracted the thou beast's attention. It instantly glared at Wang Lin with its fierce eyes, its roars growing louder. Then it straightened up and turned its head towards Wang Lin, roaring even louder. Wang Lin raised his eyebrows. At this moment, Qiu Saiping and the others also saw Wang Lin, and their faces immediately showed joy. But the 3 of them didn't dare to move. What happened? Wang Lin asked. Qiu Saiping glanced at Old Man Hu and hurriedly transmitted a message. Brother Wang. On the way here, Old Man Hu killed 2 5-leaf spellcasters, and at this entrance, he killed another one. But before this spellcaster died, I don't know what kind of magic he used to make Old Man Hu's mind hazy. Wang Lin frowned and took a few steps forward. At this moment, the beast immediately roared, opening its mouth wide to inhale. A huge suction force immediately gathered from all directions in front of the beast, forming a huge wine ball, and then flew straight towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin snorted softly and patted his storage bag. The beast of literature and the thunder toad instantly appeared. Without waiting for Wang Lin's command, the thunder toad puffed up its belly and spat out a lightning ball. The lightning ball and the wine ball collided. Boom! A roar of wind echoed in all directions. The beast of literature cried out, coiling in midair, its huge, sharp mouth immediately lunging towards the beast of chaos. Under the influence of the explosion, Old Man Hu opened his eyes, blood-red light flashing in them, and a symbol appeared in his pupils. Seeing Wang Lin, he let out a loud roar, straightened up, and lunged towards Wang Lin like a wild beast. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he patted his storage bag with his right hand. The Forbiddance banner instantly appeared in his hand, its Forbiddance energy roaring like a dragon and condensing in front of him, forming a cage that trapped Old Man Hu inside. Old Man Hu's eyes flashed with crimson light. The old man chuckled menacingly, raising a claw to break free. Wang Lin lightly pointed his right hand forward, saying, "Surround." Immediately, numerous forbidden artifacts flew out from the forbidden banner, forming extremely solid, interwoven layers. Each time Old Man Who pulled down a layer, another layer of forbidden artifacts was created. "Brother Hu, calm down," Wang Lin shouted. His voice was like thunder rumbling through the air and directly into Old Man Hu's ears. The old man's hand immediately stopped, a look of struggle appearing in his eyes. But at this moment, the symbols in his eyes flashed and flickered wildly several times. Old Man Hu's eyes once again glowed red, but his expression was somewhat strange. Brother Wang, the last savage I killed before dying, advanced to a 6-leaf spellcaster. He used a strange divine ability to try and turn me into a puppet. That magic is incredibly powerful. If it were in the demonic sea, it would take me many years to dispel it. But here, the tyrannical aura of the 2nd level constantly infiltrates, and I have no way to calmly dispel it. Only in the moment of life or death danger can this divine power symbol shatter. Brother Wang, take action. The struggle in Old Hu's eyes intensified. His body trembled slightly, as if he was trying to restrain himself. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He stroked his right hand on his storage bag, and the black immortal sword reappeared in his hand. After being condensed by the wandering soul, even someone who had seen it before would find it difficult to recognize at a glance. Wang Lin held the immortal sword, staring intently at Old Hu, his right hand slightly raised and then suddenly slashed down. The black light on the immortal sword suddenly flashed. The sword seemed to extend endlessly, swinging out as if creating heaven and earth. In the blink of an eye, as the black light flashed, the forbidden's energy immediately dispersed, revealing the symbol that was frantically blinking in Old Man Hu's eyes. Almost instantly, the symbol in Old Man Hu's eyes shattered, then flew out of his eyes. A stream of blood flowed down Old Man Hu's forehead, trickling from the tip of his nose onto the ground. The sword light of the immortal sword stopped 3 inches from Old Man Hu's head. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and with a wave of his right hand, the immortal sword instantly disappeared. Old Man Hu hastily took a bottle of pills from his storage bag, poured out a few, swallowed them, and sat cross-legged on the ground in meditation. Wang Lin looked up into the distance, waiting for the other party to finish his breathing. The fear in the eyes of Qiu Saiping and the others had reached its peak. They all held their breath and dared not speak a word. Even the beast trembled and dared not growl. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the beast of literature immediately flew down, its huge body plunging into the beast of literature's neck and fiercely sucking up a mouthful of blood. Only then did it and Lei Washington approach Wang Lin. After half an incense stick's time, Old Man Hu opened his eyes, his gaze now clear. He took a deep breath, stood up, and bowed, saying, "Brother Wang, thank you." Although his expression remained unchanged, he felt even more terrified of Wang Lin. If Wang Lin had descended 3 inches further with that sword strike, he would have surely died on the spot. Even though he didn't resist or use any magical artifacts, the feeling of being on the brink of death was etched into his memory. Indeed, he's renowned among the Void Realm cultivators. Wang Lin, using the alias Ning Niu, has become famous like the midday sun. There's a reason for that, Old Man Hu thought to himself. It's all right. Wang Lin smiled. A day later, the girl in white silk and the old man in green still hadn't arrived. Old Man Hu pondered for a long time before discussing with Wang Lin that they shouldn't wait any longer. Although he didn't have the exact location of the reincarnation tree, he knew its general position. Just go down and search, and wait while you search. Wang Lin nodded in agreement. Everyone entered the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor was a red world. There was a strange substance in the ground that could emit a red glow. So, looking around, everything was red. This place is extremely dangerous in the Immortal Relic Land. The 2nd floor had a 5-leaf spellcaster, so this 3rd floor will probably have a 6-leaf spellcaster. We need to hurry, and after finding the reincarnation tree, we must leave this place immediately. Old Man Hu said in a low voice, then looked at Wang Lin and added, "Brother Wang, I won't hide it, Sulu and Yunmeng are the key factors in the transformation of the reincarnation fruit from the reincarnation tree. Both of them have a lifespan of 100 years, and each of them lost a full cycle of the cycle before the reincarnation fruit could appear. That's why I brought them here. Later, when we set off urgently, we must each take someone with us and run as fast as possible to reach the reincarnation tree." Qiu Siping sighed inwardly but dared not say anything. He knew he was too insignificant in the eyes of Old Man Hu. Along the way, he could only grit his teeth and follow, otherwise, if he fell, he would surely die. After Old Man Hu finished speaking, he embraced Suluo, and his body suddenly flashed, flying straight west. Qiu Siping gritted his teeth and quickly teleported after him. Only the beautiful and charming Yunmeng remained. Her beautiful eyes looked towards Wang Lin, then she went to his side and softly said, "Thank you, senior." Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. He reached out and embraced the young woman's waist, immediately feeling her gentle and soft curves. His gaze was calm as he said, "Close your eyes." The girl quickly closed her eyes tightly, but her face flushed slightly. She had never been so intimately close to a man before. The scent of Wang Lin's body wafted into her nostrils, making her face even redder. Wang Lin embraced the girl and took a step forward, instantly disappearing from the spot. The girl only felt the howling wind in her ears, each gust of wind blowing against her like sharp knives. But these gusts of wind instantly vanished. Her long, curved eyelashes trembled slightly, and she opened her eyes to see a stream of blue light beside her, blocking the raging storm. She silently raised her head and looked into Wang Lin's eyes. Wang Lin's face wasn't handsome, but it was filled with a strange aura. This was a nascent soul cultivator, after his body was fused with the spiritual power of heaven and earth, based on his ability to comprehend the essence of the heavenly Tao. Strange transformations would occur. Wang Lin noticed the girl's gaze on him. He didn't lower his head, but his gaze was somewhat serious as he looked ahead. He saw that the distance between Qiu Siping and Old Hu was growing further and further. Qiu Siping's speed was simply no match for a nascent soul cultivator. A look of worrying appeared in Qiu Siping's eyes. He turned his head and saw Wang Lin flying towards him, immediately shouting loudly, "Brother Wang, help me this one time. I'm willing to give you my treasures." Wang Lin didn't even bother to pay attention to him. The two of them had no prior relationship, but hearing that the other party had treasures to offer, he suddenly remembered the time he secretly followed this person to the cultivation demon sea and saw the cave dwelling. The cave contained many ancient books, clearly something that no street urchin could obtain. He potted his storage bag with his left hand, and the Wen beast immediately flew out at Wang Lin's will. The Wen beast flew to Qiu Siping's feet, offering him a ride. But the beast's eyes showed reluctance, clearly believing that Qiu Siping wasn't worthy to sit on its back. Qiu Siping breathed a sigh of relief. Although the speed of the beast of wrath was still a little slower than that of a nascent soul cultivator, he could still barely keep up. He hurriedly took out his storage bag and took out a pair of bells, saying, "Brother Wang, I accidentally obtained these from the belly of a demon beast many years ago. They are ancient treasures. However, my abilities are limited, and I cannot fully understand them. But I can swear that these are absolutely extraordinary. Today I give them to Brother Wang, as long as you can help me get a chance to sit under the reincarnation tree." After saying this, Qiu Siping threw the pair of bells into Wang Lin's hand. He glanced at them and saw a layer of restrictions on their surface. Without breaking the restrictions, he couldn't see the details. He didn't examine them closely and threw them back into his storage bag. At that moment, two streaks of black light shot from afar, instantly transforming into two gigantic faces. One pursued Old Man Hu, while the other lunged straight towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and with a flick of his right hand, his immortal sword instantly appeared. He swung his arm, and a sword light shot out like lightning, striking the face. After striking, Wang Lin didn't stop, but his speed increased even more. Numerous black mists emerged from the gigantic face. The mists intertwined, forming a massive symbol, which collided with the sword light. The sword light dissipated, and the symbol shattered. From within the mist emerged a gray-haired figure. A wound appeared in his gloomy right eye, blood flowing down his face to the ground. The figure licked his lips, his body moved slightly, and he pursued the figure forward. "He's only injured, not dead. He's a 6-leaf spellcaster, probably equivalent to a late-stage nascent soul cultivator." Wang Lin raised his eyebrows. Old Man Hu was ahead, was also in a terrible state. He had stopped to fight the old man formed from the giant face. But on one hand, he wanted to protect Suluo, and on the other hand, His cultivation was only at the mid-stage nascent soul level. He fought and retreated repeatedly, facing danger many times. Beast Tamer. Old man who shouted, and immediately a beast resembling a Juanwu appeared. It fought alongside Old Man Who against the Old Man. As soon as the Old Man saw the Beast Tamer, a sudden gleam appeared in his eyes. He didn't fight Old Man Who, but instead charged straight towards the Beast Tamer. The white-haired old man chasing Wang Lin also became serious. He stared at the Beast Tamer, a hint of greed in his eyes. He hesitated for a moment, then immediately abandoned Wang Lin and charged straight towards the Beast Tamer. It seemed that in his eyes, pursuing the foreign cultivators was not as important as obtaining the blood of this beast. Perhaps it could increase the power of the symbol by 3 times. The beast Qiu Siping was being ridden was ignored by the two. Clearly, in their eyes, it was worthless. Wang Lin flew like an arrow, and as he flew past Old Man Hu, he shouted, "Brother Hu! Don't hesitate. These savages aren't just two people. Don't linger here. It will ruin everything. Go!" Old Man Hu stared blankly at the beast captured by the savages, which was continuously howling. A flicker of unwillingness appeared in his eyes, but he immediately dismissed this thought. He didn't turn back but flew away like an arrow because he saw 3 black streaks of light approaching from afar. West, the location of that reincarnation tree is probably in the west, Old Man Who said in a low voice from behind. The 3rd level was much smaller than the 2 above. After several hours, everyone had flown to the far west. Old Man Who swept his divine consciousness downwards, his eyes filled with gravity. Here. Wang Lin swept his divine consciousness over, and he immediately saw the place Old Man Who was referring to. It was a withered tree. The tree wasn't large, only had a few small branches, and not a single leaf. It simply stood alone in a patch of land. At first glance, it looked exactly like any other ordinary tree, nothing different. However, it was the only tree on this 3rd level. Back then, I also passed by this place on the 3rd level, but I didn't find any trees. If Vidin hadn't taken out the jade slip, I wouldn't have believed that a reincarnation tree could appear here, Old Man Who said in a low voice, standing under the tree. Qiu Siping then flew over. Before getting close to the beast of literature, he flipped it over and threw it to the ground, then flew back to Wang Lin's side. Qiu Siping didn't care and teleported to the base of the tree. A look of excitement flashed in his eyes. Without saying much, he immediately sat down to meditate. At that moment, Old Man Who frowned and glanced at Qiu Siping. Qiu Siping trembled inwardly and quickly looked towards Wang Lin. "Sit down. Cultivating immortality is inherently against the heavens. He has a chance. We don't need to interfere," Wang Lin said calmly and slowly. Old Man Who also said nothing more, looking towards Suluo and Yu Meng. The two quickly went to the tree, sat down cross-legged opposite each other, with the reincarnation tree between them. Qiu Siping looked at Wang Lin, his eyes filled with gratitude. He took a deep breath and began to cultivate. He knew that in this short period of time, whether he had any hope of achieving the God transformation stage in the future depended on this opportunity. Brother Wang, Suluo, and Yu Meng need 3 hours to complete the transformation of the reincarnation tree. During that time, we must protect them, Old Man Who said in a low voice. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he said, "I wonder how many reincarnation fruits there will be." Old Man Who looked at Wang Lin, pondered for a moment, and said, "At least 2. If there are 2, you and I will each take 1. If there are 3, I must have 1 more. After all, I am the one who willingly sacrificed their lifespan. I hope Brother Wang will forgive me." "All right, but this withered reincarnation tree must belong to me," Wang Lin said, circling the trunk. "Haha, no problem," Old Man Who said. But inwardly he sneered, thinking that this reincarnation tree was already withered, and after its transformation it would be of no use, so giving it to him was fine. Wang Lin nodded, took a step forward, and grabbed a branch. Old Man Who's expression changed, and he shouted loudly, "Brother Wang, what are you doing?" Wang Lin looked at Old Man Who and said in a low voice, "If this withered tree already belongs to me, then what's the harm in breaking off a branch?" "Brother Who, I want to ask you what you're doing." Old Man Who was stunned and was about to speak when Wang Lin broke off a large branch with his hand and threw it into his storage bag with a normal expression. Then he sat down to the side. Old Man Who was silent for a while, thinking about the other party's reputation and that terrifying treasure sword. He said nothing, sat down to the side, and smiled. Please don't blame me, Brother Wong. Breaking off just a branch is nothing, but I'm afraid the number of reincarnation fruits might decrease. Wang Lin glanced at Old Man Hu. He didn't say anything and pressed his hands together in front of him. Rings of restrictions appeared in his hands. He waved his hand, and the restrictions spread in all directions. Gradually, Wang Lin's hands moved faster and faster, and more restrictions appeared, gently flying out. Old Man Hu's eyes became serious. After a moment of silence, the old man took 16 small flags from his storage bag. He waved his hand, and the flags flew in all directions. As soon as the flags landed on the ground, they immediately shimmered with a purple light, interacting with each other as if illuminating something. The restrictions in Wang Lin's hands continued to be unleashed. Finally, he unleashed 99 restrictions. After they flew out in all directions, he took out the Forbidden's banner and threw it forward. The Forbidden's banner immediately transformed into a black curtain covering everything. Magnificent! Old Man Hu's eyes lit up. He potted his storage bag, and 5 black eyes instantly appeared before him, their blades reeking of blood. The moment they appeared, many souls let out mournful cries, trying to escape from the sides. Old Man Hu waved his right hand, and the 5 sides instantly coiled and flew away, disappearing into the black curtain. Time slowly passed, and the area became eerily silent. Streams of white energy emanated from Suluo and Yunmeng, flowing from the tops of their heads into the reincarnation tree. Their faces alternated between red and pale, occasionally revealing expressions of agony. As time passed, the white mist above their heads grew thicker, but the reincarnation tree remained unchanged. The streams of white mist disappeared into the tree, leaving no trace. Even using divine sense to investigate, they couldn't locate the source of the mist. Gradually, Suluo's appearance was no longer youthful. Several wrinkles appeared on his forehead, and his black hair turned gray. Yunmeng was the same. Her beautiful features faded, transforming her into a mature woman. However, her beauty didn't diminish. Instead, it gained the charm of a grown woman. As time slowly passed, Suluo and Yunmeng's faces aged, their skin losing its radiance. It seemed as if all their lifespan had vanished with the white mist. 3 small yellow dots gradually appeared at the top of the reincarnation tree. These 3 yellow dots grew brighter and brighter, seemingly containing an extremely mysterious force within. Old Man Hu's eyes flickered, and he said in a deep voice, 3 reincarnation fruits. To this moment, a dazzling yellow light suddenly flashed on the reincarnation tree. Clusters of yellow light flashed from the reincarnation tree and flew straight up into the sky, transforming into waves that spread outwards from the black ground of the 3rd layer in all directions. The waves emanating from the light cluster grew larger and larger. The circular waves were hundreds of meters long, so that the strange phenomenon could be clearly seen from any position on the 3rd layer. After spreading to a certain extent, this circle did not expand further, but the overflowing light waves transformed into clusters of leaves. From these leaves, many branches extended, connecting to the yellow light cluster, linking together like branches and a trunk, forming a gigantic ancient tree. The beam of light formed the trunk, the waves the branches, the veins the leaves. Almost instantly, a gigantic reincarnation tree, seemingly supporting the entire 3rd level of heaven and earth, appeared before everyone. This wasn't a real tree, but only an illusion. Yet, the appearance of this illusion terrified all the immortal tribe members on the 3rd level. Regardless of what they were doing, they immediately stopped and frantically rushed towards the reincarnation tree. Wang Lin looked up at the sky, his heart sinking. Such a brightly shining tree would surely attract the attention of all the savage tribes. A great battle would inevitably ensue. He had to leave as soon as possible, not waiting for the reincarnation fruit. Or should he wait for the reincarnation fruit and face this battle? Wang Lin was silent for a moment, his eyes flashing. Just then, 8 black streaks flew from afar like arrows amidst thunderous explosions, transforming into 8 old men. After these 8 people appeared, they directly used the power of the symbols, launching straight towards everyone below the reincarnation tree. The restrictions Wang Lin had set up outside immediately took effect. Layer after layer, like a turtle shell, covered everything inside. Streams of light from the magic artifacts flashed rapidly. The simple power of the 8 old men struck the restrictions. Boom! Boom! The restrictions were attacked repeatedly, many layers were destroyed, and their number quickly decreased. Old Man Who, with both hands, cast several spells and unleashed several beams of light. 16 small flags planted on the ground immediately flew without wind. At this moment, 16 creatures with faces like demons flew out from these flags. The 16 demons swirled around, forming a black vortex, and a huge power emanated from within. The 8 people attacking the restrictions were immediately pushed back several meters by the creatures. Old Man Who took a deep breath. With his eyes tightly closed, Wang Lin quickly cast a spell. His eyes flashed, and he lightly pointed his finger forward. The remaining phantom restrictions instantly condensed into a giant hand that slammed forward. One of them was immediately caught by the hand. Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he said, "Explode." Boom! The hand shattered, and the person inside instantly turned into blood and flesh, scattering in all directions. Wang Lin pointed his right hand, and another hand appeared, grabbing towards the remaining people. Their cultivation hadn't reached the 5-leaf standard. They were all 4-leaf, equivalent to nascent soul cultivators. Just then, a black light suddenly flew from afar, revealing a large face covered in dense symbols and markings. "Brother Wang, please protect me. I'll go out and fight." Old Man Who straightened up and stepped out of the layers of the Forbidden's formation. As soon as he emerged, he engaged in a battle with the savage men. After half an incense stick's time, Old Man Who rushed back in. His face was grim, and he had 2 more wounds. He sat down cross-legged and said, "Kill them." But 2 more came. I couldn't defeat them. Wang Lin stood up and walked out. As soon as he stepped out of the Forbidden's formation, he saw 2 old savage men frantically swinging the symbolic chains in their hands. They struck directly at the 16 flags that were creating a whirlwind. Each strike produced a clang, clang sound from within the whirlwind. The moment Wang Lin appeared, the eyes of one of the old savage men flashed. The symbolic chain in his hand trembled slightly and lunged towards Wang Lin like a snake. The chain, as it flew, carried with it a fierce tearing sound. Wang Lin even saw the soul of a black dragon roaring above. His expression remained unchanged. He swung his right hand in the air. From all 4 sides of the black curtain, a long spear flew out like lightning. Wang Lin grabbed it and thrust it straight at the chain of symbols. Boom! The spear shattered and cracks appeared in the chain of symbols, instantly transforming into a mass of symbols that scattered in all directions. The old man's expression turned serious. He shouted, and several pink animal skins appeared in his hands. After being thrown, the animal skins immediately burst into flames, transforming into a huge iron plate. As this iron plate appeared, the symbols all around were immediately drawn to and condensed around it. Wang Lin raised his right hand and clenched his fist. A long spear instantly appeared in his hand. He took a step forward, his body shooting out like lightning. A hint of fear flashed in the old man's eyes. The old man's body instantly moved, standing on the iron plate. Complex incantations emanated from his mouth, and the iron plate instantly grew enormous, becoming a small mountain in a flash. The old barbarian on top let out a loud roar and flew along with the iron plate, charging straight towards Wang Lin. A deafening roar descended from the sky as the iron plate crashed down. The ground beneath Wang Lin's feet immediately cracked. His body was bound by an invisible force, his movements becoming extremely sluggish. At the same time, the other barbarian who was fighting the whirlwind turned around forcefully. A cruel smile appeared on his lips. He raised his right hand, and symbols immediately emerged from his arm. The symbols stacked on top of each other and shot straight towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes remained calm. He extended both hands and softly chanted, "Forbidden's weapon spear, manifest." The Forbidden's energy within the black curtain instantly transformed into a long spear and flew out wildly. Wang Lin lightly tapped it, and it struck directly at the old barbarian who was unleashing symbols not far away. Wang Lin remained calm, stroking his right hand to his storage bag, and a celestial sword appeared in his hand. He gripped the sword tightly with both hands and slashed straight up into the sky. The sword light shot out like an arrow, striking the descending iron plate. The iron plate trembled, and many cracks appeared on its surface. The old man standing above spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes showing terror. But he immediately let out a ferocious roar, and 5 leaves appeared on his forehead. The leaves instantly stretched out, distributing themselves all over his body and simultaneously entering the iron plate from his feet and through the cracks. The iron plate immediately flashed with radiance and slammed down again. At this moment, its distance from Wang Lin was less than 20 jang. A cold glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. Without hesitation, he grabbed the immortal sword and threw it straight forward. A thunderous explosion resounded, and the immortal sword, transformed into a black light, suddenly shot straight towards the iron plate. The immortal sword pierced through the iron plate as easily as tofu, slicing the old savage man's body into before the old man's disbelieving eyes. Fresh blood splattered in all directions. The invisible force binding Wang Lin's body instantly disappeared. He forcefully turned his head and spat out a small black mark. The mark immediately swelled and shot straight towards the old savage man who was fighting with many forbidden spears. The savage man's expression changed instantly, and he clapped his right hand forward, causing many pieces of animal skin to fly out. The thrown animal skin transformed into a huge fist-shaped symbol that slammed directly into the black mark. Wang Lin snorted softly. He leaned forward, patted his storage bag with his right hand, and pulled out a bell. He threw the bell towards the old savage man's head. The savage man was battling the black mark while also having to watch out for numerous forbidden spears thrusting from all sides. A look of madness flashed in his eyes as he was about to pull out a piece of animal skin when the bell descended and trapped him inside. Wang Lin waved his right hand, summoning the bell back into his grasp. He immediately cast several Dao seals onto the bell. Inside, the bell clanged, and faint screams could be heard. Wang Lin took the bell, retrieved his immortal sword and the black mark, and turned to enter the formation. After he disappeared, the surroundings became silent again, leaving only mutilated corpses and scattered blood and bones on the ground. Inside the formation, Old Man Hu, sitting under the reincarnation tree, saw Wang Lin enter, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. He had been even more terrified by Wang Lin's battle earlier. How much longer will it take? Wang Lin looked towards the reincarnation tree. The 3 yellow points of light on the tree were already as big as fists. Very quickly, at most, it will only take half an hour to form the reincarnation fruit. Old Man Hu said decisively. It's too late. Just now it was only a 5-leaf spellcaster. Once a 6-leaf savage, equivalent to a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, comes here, if it's one person, I can still hold them off. But if to come, I won't have enough strength. Moreover, there's a 7-leaf spellcaster here, equivalent to a nascent soul cultivator. Wang Lin said in a low voice. Old Man Hu's expression turned gloomy. He was about to speak when his expression suddenly changed, and he looked outside the formation. Wang Lin sighed softly and also looked in that direction. He saw 20 black beams of light flying towards them like arrows from afar. 6 of them were enveloped in gigantic faces, especially the 2 leading figures, who were emitting black beams of light and carrying overwhelming demonic flames. On the gigantic face, 6 leaves occasionally flickered. Upon approaching, these dark streams instantly transformed into savages. The 2 leading 6-leaf spellcasters were the same 2 savages who had chased them earlier and then pursued the beast. The symbols on the old woman's body were slightly more numerous than before, the red color still clearly visible, freshly drawn. She chuckled and swung her right hand, like a dry branch, forward. The whirlwind that had been continuously attacked instantly shattered, and the 16 demons inside dissipated into thin air. The 16 flags planted on the ground in all directions also crumbled. After the whirlwind dissipated, a black curtain appeared before everyone. The old woman stepped forward, intending to enter the curtain, when suddenly her expression changed. Her body spun backward at an unbelievable angle. A scythe flashed and then disappeared inside the curtain. A bloodstain instantly appeared on the old woman's withered body. She let out a roar, stroking the symbols on her right hand. The symbols immediately appeared, shimmering on all 4 sides of her body. A few incantations echoed from the old woman's mouth, and the symbols instantly moved. The symbols transformed into giant fireballs. The old woman roared, and the fireballs immediately flew straight into the screen. From within the screen, numerous spears formed from Forbidden's energy flew out, striking the fireballs with earth-shattering explosions. 5 sides also simultaneously flew out from within and swooped down towards the old woman. At this moment, a beam of purple light shot from afar, instantly landing beside the old woman. The purple light dissipated, revealing a middle-aged man. This man's body was incredibly strong. He stretched out his hand and directly grasped a scythe. He squeezed hard, and the scythe cracked and shattered. He swung his claw again, catching another scythe and crushing it. Now only 3 scythes remain, and they immediately flew into the curtain and disappeared. The strong man's body was covered in dense symbols, but these symbols were somewhat different from those of other savages. They didn't float outside, but were deeply integrated into his body, becoming a part of his skin. After this man appeared, the old woman snorted softly, but said nothing. The strong man looked into the black mist, and his right hand suddenly threw a punch. The symbols on his body immediately moved in a strange way. All the symbols instantly condensed on his right fist. He threw a punch that shook the black curtain, and the 3 sides hidden inside instantly shattered. Elder Hu's expression was grim. He turned his head towards the tree trunk, gritting his teeth as he glanced at Suluo and Yan Man. Finally, his gaze settled on Suluo. He formed a hand seal and struck forward, and a beam of light immediately entered Suluo's body. Suluo let out a pained cry and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His body staggered and fell to the ground. But in the instant he fell, a large amount of white energy surged out from the top of his head, entering the reincarnation tree. Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he looked at Elder Hu. This old man was heartless and ruthless, sacrificing his disciples' entire lifespan to accelerate the transformation of the reincarnation fruit. But this was a matter for their sect, and Wang Lin had no right to interfere. As Suluo's body fell to the ground, the 3 yellow points of light on the reincarnation tree immediately emitted a dazzling light and gradually solidified. Elder Hu knew it was still not enough. He sighed inwardly and pointed his finger towards Yan Man. The girl immediately spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, her eyes filled with sorrow as she looked at Old Man Hu, then closed her eyes tightly. Immediately, a large amount of white energy from the top of her head merged into the reincarnation tree. The 3 reincarnation fruits instantly solidified. Wang Lin and Old Man Hu took a step simultaneously, reaching for the fruits on the reincarnation tree. The distance was so short that in an instant, they both leapt to the top of the tree. Wang Lin grabbed 1 reincarnation fruit, while Old Man Hu grabbed 2 with both hands. Then, he immediately retreated, his gaze towards Wang Lin filled with vigilance. Without hesitation, Wang Lin struck the reincarnation tree with a palm. The tree's roots were instantly severed, and he placed it on his shoulder. He then waved his right hand, summoning something, and the black curtain vanished, the forbidden banner falling into his hand. His body didn't stop, but flew away like an arrow. Old Man Hu did the same, the 2 choosing opposite directions. At this moment, Qiu Saiping also opened his eyes. He gritted his teeth and chased after Wang Lin. All of this happened in the blink of an eye as the black curtain disappeared. 3 figures flew out from within, and the savages outside immediately rushed forward to intercept them. The burly man's eyes were fixed on Wang Lin. With a slight movement, he flew to intercept him. The old woman's gaze focused on Old Man Hu, and she flew up to stop him. Another Greenleaf spellcaster's eyes were fixed on Qiu Saiping. Qiu Saiping felt as if he were being stared at by a ferocious beast. His body was suddenly enveloped by a strange power, rendering him immobile. He watched helplessly as the Greenleaf spellcaster smirked. Immediately afterward, his vision went dark, and he lost consciousness. A strange mark appeared on his forehead, constantly growing. Facing the burly man's obstruction, Wang Lin's expression turned grim. Without hesitation, he potted his storage bag and swung his immortal sword forward. The burly man laughed heartily, his right hand instantly striking the sword's light. Boom! The burly man's right hand was instantly torn, revealing gray bones underneath. Symbols gleamed on the ends of the bones. His body was propelled more than 10 meters before stopping. A fierce fighting spirit blazed in his eyes. He let out a loud roar and charged straight towards Wang Lin again. Wang Lin felt the immortal sword in his hand tremble. He immediately used the recoil force to retreat, transforming into a black streak, attempting to escape. He almost instantly guessed that the opponent wasn't a spellcaster but a beast warrior he'd never seen before. Otherwise, how could a spellcaster possibly withstand the power of the immortal sword with their fists? In the instant Wang Lin retreated, he noticed something unusual on Qiu Saiping's forehead. His heart sank, and with a claw-like motion of his right hand, Qiu Saiping's storage bag instantly fell into his grasp. Wang Lin didn't stop but quickly flew away. The burly man shouted loudly and chased after him. At this moment, several of the remaining spellcasters immediately rushed forward to stop Wang Lin. A murderous glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes, and he shouted, "Get out!" With that, the immortal sword in his hand slashed horizontally, instantly cutting two people in the waist, blood splattering everywhere. The blocking steps of those people immediately halted. Taking advantage of that momentum, Wang Lin suddenly darted straight out. The burly man's eyes narrowed slightly as he chased after them. Both moved at incredible speed, disappearing into the distant horizon in an instant. Meanwhile, the green-leaved spellcaster, Q Siping, who had just finished transforming, glanced in the direction where Wang Lin and the other man had vanished. He withdrew his gaze and turned his attention to Old Man who was fighting with the old woman. He licked his lips, his eyes fixed on the storage bag on Old Man who's back. It was emitting bursts of yellow light. Even the storage bag couldn't conceal this light. Wang Lin, carrying the reincarnation tree on his shoulder, felt extremely strange. He couldn't put it in the storage bag and could only carry it. He had put the reincarnation fruit in the storage bag, but the dazzling yellow light couldn't be extinguished. The burly man was rapidly pursuing from behind. He looked at Wang Lin's back, his eyes filled with fierce fighting spirit. He shouted in a language Wang Lin could understand, "Outsider. You can't escape, let's fight." A murderous glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He touched his bracelet, his body stopping. His right hand, holding the immortal sword, suddenly spun around and flashed downwards, saying, "All right. I'll fight you." The burly man laughed heartily. He didn't dodge, but instead struck straight with both hands. He retreated several meters, his hands a bloody mess, but the joints inside were unharmed. The fighting spirit in his eyes intensified as he shouted, "Toothwood Green Leaf War Beast Warrior, W." And Lin's eyes were cold as he said, Wang Lin, a nascent soul cultivator. Shimu's body shot forward, his fists punching straight up into the sky, instantly sending whistling sounds of wind tearing through the air. Wang Lin swung his immortal sword, and a thunderous explosion erupted 3 meters in front of him, a colossal force emanating from the sword. Wang Lin's hands instantly went numb. If I were here, I would definitely fight this person. Wang Lin's eyes flickered, and he raised his right hand, sending the beast-slaying scroll flying out. Boom, a sound rang out, and the divine archery chariot suddenly appeared before him. Outside was a beast soul with its eyes wide open, staring intently at Shimu. It let out an earth-shattering roar. Shimu was stunned, his expression changing slightly. Divine archery chariot, let me see if your power truly lives up to its name. A cold glint appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. If he didn't kill this person today, he would certainly not be able to escape. The beast soul on the divine archer chariot suddenly turned its head. Upon seeing Wang Lin, it roared again. At this moment, all the ferocious spikes on the chariot gleamed with black light. This black light slowly condensed towards the beast's soul. A never-before-seen sense of danger instantly enveloped Shimu's entire body. He showed a look of panic. Without waiting for the chariot to fully prepare, he immediately lunged forward, his right fist suddenly striking out. Wang Lin sneered. His body moved slightly, and his immortal sword instantly slashed forward. A loud boom echoed from 30 feet away. Shimu's right fist was sent flying forward. His face turned ferocious, he reluctantly stopped, then advanced again. Wang Lin slashed down with another sword. This time, he didn't stop but continuously swung his immortal sword. In an instant, 10 streaks of sword light shot out in quick succession. Boom, 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 Shimu's body continuously retreated. His entire body was covered in wounds, revealing densely packed white bones. Even his ribcage showed some cracks. But when the symbol flashed, those cracks were restored to their original state. Suddenly, the immortal sword in Wang Lin's hand emitted the wail of Suli Guo. He and the wandering souls couldn't fully control the immortal sword. If they used it too much, they would surely be annihilated. Suliku's wail reached Wang Lin's ears, and only then did he stop. The soul beast had absorbed the last of the black light from the tips of the divine archer's chariot, and its body suddenly became enormous. The iron chains binding it now completely disappeared. A power like a world-destroying force emanated from the chariot and surged into the soul beast's body. Roar! The soul beast roared, leaping out of the chariot. It moved with a speed invisible to Wang Lin, rushing towards Chimu. A look of terror flashed in Chimu's eyes. He wanted to retreat, but the difference in speed between him and the soul beast was too great. The soul beast's body was filled with destructive power. In an instant, it pierced through Chimu's body. Wang Lin clearly saw that after the soul beast passed through Chimu's body, its enormous teeth clamped down on a remnant soul. This remnant soul was Chimu himself. Cracks began to appear on Chimu's body, starting from his forehead. These cracks immediately enveloped his entire body. Finally, his whole body turned to dust and vanished into thin air. The soul beast opened its mouth and swallowed the remnant soul, then powerfully turned its head, roared, and charged straight towards Wang Lin. The beast realm's ferocity was immense. How could it possibly submit to Wang Lin's control? The moment it attacked, Wang Lin's eyes remained calm. He formed a hand seal with his right hand, sending a projectile to the chariot beside him. Immediately, numerous illusory iron chains appeared amidst creaking sounds. Each chain flew out, tightly binding the roaring soul beast that was charging forward. The soul beast struggled relentlessly, its roars growing increasingly fierce as it tried to break free from the chains. But these chains seemed to possess an inexhaustible force, binding the soul beast and pulling it back to the chariot. The soul beast continued to struggle and roar, but was ultimately bound back. The moment its massive body was tied back to the chariot, it gradually shrank, finally disappearing inside. With a boom, the chariot transformed into a beast-slaying scroll and flew towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He took out a top-grade spirit stone and extended his right hand. The beast scroll landed on his wrist, and simultaneously, an immense, boundless suction force emanated from within. Wang Lin gripped the supreme-grade spirit stone tightly, his body subtly moving as he instantly flew straight into the distance. His speed wasn't fast. As he flew, he transferred the suction force from within the beast scroll onto the supreme-grade spirit stone. This process dragged on for a long time before the suction force gradually weakened. Wang Lin's forehead was covered in sweat. He released his hand, and the supreme-grade spirit stone instantly turned into dust and dissipated into space. The power of the divine archery chariot is unimaginable, truly worthy of being a treasure of the immortal realm. It's a pity the soul beast's ferocity is so strong. The beast scroll is still controllable at this moment, but if I use it repeatedly, I might one day be sucked dry. Furthermore, each use requires consuming a supreme-grade spirit stone to replenish the lost spiritual power. The price to pay is too high. Wang Lin's forehead was drenched in sweat, which instantly vanished in the gusts of wind. His eyes flickered, his mind filled with contemplation. Wang Lin's speed was incredibly fast. He knew the danger of the third level was immense. He absolutely had to leave this place quickly. The words of the old barbarian on the second level echoed in his ears. Seven-leaf spellcasters were equivalent to nascent soul cultivators, beings Wang Lin couldn't possibly contend with now. I wonder if the divine archery chariot can kill a nascent soul cultivator. But the difference between a god transformation cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator isn't simply a matter of numbers. There's a fundamental difference. In a nascent soul cultivator's body, all the spiritual power has transformed into immortal energy. Wang Lin frowned. But it's also strange, with such a huge commotion from the reincarnation tree just now, why didn't any seven-leaf spellcasters appear? Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and his speed increased even further. He carried the reincarnation tree on his back and flew through the third level, creating an extremely dazzling spectacle. After flying for a while, Wang Lin's right hand struck the reincarnation tree, instantly chopping it into pieces. Before, a single branch could fit into my storage bag, but now I can't fit the whole tree. Let me try chopping it into sections. Wang Lin picked up a piece of wood and threw it into his storage bag. Nothing happened. A piece of the reincarnation tree immediately flew inside. It works. Wang Lin increased his speed, and in an instant, he threw all the pieces of wood into his storage bag. The reincarnation tree is truly miraculous. The whole tree can't fit into a storage bag, but if you cut it into sections, it can. Wang Lin glanced at his storage bag and flew straight towards the gate of the third floor. As time passed, the gate of the third floor appeared before him, as he had hoped. Wang Lin instantly teleported, appearing at the gate. He was about to ascend when, at that moment, a cough came from afar. A hunched old man, with 4/5 of his body covered in symbols, slowly approached from a distance. Without hesitation, Wang Lin's body flashed and he darted through the gate to the second floor. The old man wore a bone bracelet on his wrist. He touched the bracelet and looked in the direction Wang Lin had disappeared. He then lunged forward. In an instant, he vanished from his spot and reappeared on the second floor. The old man was stunned upon reappearing. He had clearly detected the location of this outsider when he moved earlier, but now that he had appeared, the other's aura had vanished. The old man straightened up, his right hand touching his forehead, and 7 leaves immediately appeared. They slowly extended from the top of his head downwards. Immediately, all the nooks and crannies of the second floor flashed into his mind. At the same time, a divine power similar to a cultivator's consciousness enveloped the entire second floor. After sweeping through, it found no trace of Wang Lin. At this moment, the old man's face showed surprise. This outsider junior also had some skill, able to hide right under my nose. The old man pondered for a moment, took a step forward, and disappeared. Time passed slowly, and half a month went by in the blink of an eye. During that half month, no one left the immortal relic land. After being severely injured, old man who did not hesitate to expend his primordial spirit using a life-preserving technique to escape. But he was caught halfway by the hunchbacked old man, and since then, there has been no news of him. The corpses of Sulu and Yunmeng were also taken by the immortal relic clan, as they were useful. Qiu Siping was transformed by a 6-leaf cultivator. He was completely unable to resist. After all, a 6-leaf cultivator is an existence equivalent to a late-stage transformation god. He became a puppet. Apart from the girl in white silk and the old servant in green robes whose whereabouts were unknown, this time only Wang Lin remained among those who entered the immortal relic land. One day, a cluster of 7 colored lights suddenly appeared at the entrance from the 2nd to the 3rd level. Very quickly, a figure materialized from the void. The moment Wang Lin appeared, he immediately shot straight away and disappeared on the spot. Half a month before discovering the hunchbacked old man, he had entered the 2nd level without hesitation and gone straight into the heaven-defying space. It had been a long time since he had hidden inside the heaven-defying space. A 7-leaf spellcaster, equivalent to a nascent soul cultivator, appeared before him, and Wang Lin knew he couldn't resist. He knew that once discovered, death was inevitable. After appearing, Wang Lin pushed his speed to the limit, flying frantically without regard for the consumption of spiritual power. If the star compass couldn't only fly in the sky and in the void, Wang Lin would have used it long ago. He clutched the supreme grade spirit stone tightly in his hand and flew straight ahead. Then he rushed to the gate of the 1st level. Just as he was about to enter, a giant golden symbol suddenly appeared and locked the door. "Outside, Junior, I've been waiting for you for a long time." With a cough, a hunchbacked old man appeared beneath the symbol. His eyes glanced at Wang Lin. Under his gaze, Wang Lin immediately felt a sensation like his whole body was being pierced through, an icy coldness enveloping him. Wang Lin dared not retreat. He felt that if he retreated, the other party would immediately attack. He coldly looked at the old man, his left hand touching the beast-taming scroll. "You killed Momo, Dia, Gu, and Chimeo. I see their vengeful spirits on you, with a cultivation level barely reaching the mid-stage of the god transformation realm. Yet able to kill these descendants of our clan, especially the 6-leaf toothwood, you're certainly not an unknown figure in the cultivation kingdom. What's your name?" The old man coughed, speaking slowly. Wang Lin replied softly. His left hand pressed down on the beast-taming scroll. This bracelet had two fatal flaws. The preparation stage was too long. Facing the old man, Wang Lin wasn't sure he could buy enough time to activate the war chariot. "The magic weapon that killed Toothwood, is that your bracelet?" The old man glanced at the beast-taming scroll, then said, "It has the scent of a beast's soul inside." Wang Lin's expression darkened. He stared at the old man, trying to retreat. The old man glanced at Wang Lin, and he immediately stopped, not daring to move further. The old man coughed a few times, saying, "I don't want to make things difficult for you. If you tell me the method of concealing your aura, I will let you go unharmed, and I will personally cast a spell on you so that you will become my puppet one from now on. With your cultivation level, you can't escape." 1. A puppet created by casting a spell on someone else. After saying this, the old man extended his right hand forward. Wang Lin immediately felt the space around him quickly solidify. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light, and he stroked his storage bag with his right hand. The Forbidden's banner appeared in his hand and vibrated, and many Forbidden's artifacts roared out. The Forbidden's artifacts transformed into evil dragons and flew towards the old man. At the same time, the immortal sword also appeared in Wang Lin's hand. He slashed down forcefully, and the black sword light immediately flashed. The old man raised his eyes and pointed his right hand forward. The symbols on his body immediately moved. A symbol appeared on his fingertip and shot straight out. The symbol that had just appeared exploded with a loud bang, transforming into numerous smaller symbols that quickly flew towards the Forbidden's artifact. At the same time, the old man raised his right arm and flicked a finger at the sword's aura. Boom! The sword's aura vanished, leaving a trail of blood on the old man's fingertip. He glanced at it and said, "Very good. This sword is also a treasure." Wang Lin's scalp tingled. The Forbidden's banner was useless, the immortal sword was useless, and even the divine archery chariot, which needed time to prepare to face the old man, was useless. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light. He reached into his storage bag with his right hand, and another Forbidden's banner appeared. He unleashed a forbidden spell with his left hand, sending it flying towards the old man. The old man stared at the Forbidden's banner, shaking his head and saying, "You young men truly possess many treasures. You must have been a disciple of a major sect on Earth. This object possesses a powerful divine force. Once this formation is complete, your cultivators will say that a heavenly tribulation is descending. If it were on the surface, it could threaten me. But this is the sacred land of the immortal tribe, a different world. The heavenly tribulation cannot descend here. You can try it." The old man finished speaking, and his right hand reached forward again. This time, his speed wasn't fast, but the power was much stronger than before. Within a radius of 100 meters, creaking sounds immediately echoed. Several spatial cracks instantly appeared. This 100-meter radius seemed on the verge of collapse. Wang Lin's eyes flickered, the restriction vibrated, and he quickly retracted it. A painting appeared in his hand. The moment this seemingly ordinary painting appeared in Wang Lin's hand, the old man's expression, which had been calm until now, suddenly became serious, and his grasping hand slowed slightly. He paused for a moment. Wang Lin immediately noticed the pressure from all sides slowing down. Without hesitation, he quickly retreated, descending downwards and flying rapidly away. The old man's eyes showed a strange glint. He took a step forward and chased after him. Wang Lin sighed inwardly. He had been cultivating for a long time, but he didn't know how to use this scroll. Just now, there was nothing in his storage bag that could control the opponent's object, so he was preparing to take a gamble and randomly open the wooden scroll. But the old man was staring at the scroll. Therefore, Wang Lin immediately changed his plan, retracted the scroll, and hurriedly fled. The entrance to the first level is sealed. There's only one way to escape. Although it's extremely dangerous compared to being inside, the chances of survival are much better. Wang Lin held his immortal sword and charged straight into the void. Instantly, with a single thrust, the spot where the immortal sword pierced transformed into a spatial rift, pitch black inside, resembling a huge mouth ready to devour someone. The spatial rift, having just appeared, immediately contracted, and Wang Lin's body flashed, instantly slipping inside. The old man pursued. The moment Wang Lin entered the rift, the old man snorted softly, took a step, and entered the rift, continuing the pursuit. As soon as Wang Lin entered the spatial rift, a powerful gust of wind struck his face, carrying countless strange, tiny objects that relentlessly bombarded him. He immediately felt pain, and his primordial spirit flickered like a dying candle, sometimes bright, sometimes dim. Wang Lin felt a chill in his heart. He knew the spatial rift was extremely dangerous, but the most important thing was that he was disoriented and unable to find an exit. But this place was filled with a chilling wind that could extinguish even the primordial spirit. This terrified Wang Lin. The surroundings were pitch black. Nothing could be seen clearly. The cold wind grew increasingly fierce. Wang Lin immediately patted his storage bag, and the star compass flew out. He shook himself slightly, sat cross-legged on the star compass, and sped off into the distance. At the same time, spiritual power circulated within his body, dispelling the cold wind. This was because Wang Lin had entered a spatial rift, a place where only the void could use the star compass. Only in this way could his speed surpass that of the old man, preventing him from being chased and killed. The hunchbacked old man stepped into the rift. His right hand trembled. A symbol briefly appeared, imprinted on the rapidly contracting rift, preventing it from closing. That wooden scroll bears some resemblance to one of the 11 sacred artifacts of our clan, the old man murmured to himself. The cold wind had no effect on the old man. On the contrary, the wind made him feel very comfortable. The old man pondered for a moment, then moved, continuing the pursuit. Wang Lin sat on the compass, fully focused on controlling it. Inside the crack was a pitch-black void. Along the way, he couldn't see any matter. Everything was a dark, impenetrable expanse. At this moment, Wang Lin sensed something amiss behind him, making him highly alert. Clearly, the old man was relentlessly pursuing him. Wang Lin's expression darkened as he increased the compass's speed to its maximum, fleeing frantically. The hunchbacked old man, with each leap, moved a considerable distance, yet he still couldn't catch up with Wang Lin. He was somewhat astonished, thinking to himself, this young man possesses so many treasures, each with extraordinary functions. His status must be far more noble than other cultivators. Thinking this, he became even more determined to turn the young man into a puppet, a type of puppet created by casting spells on others. This void was extremely bizarre. The further Wang Lin flew, the more pronounced this feeling became. He could see nothing, not even a trace of spiritual energy fluctuation. Continuing like this isn't a solution, Wang Lin thought briefly. He waved his right hand, and the beast-taming scroll immediately flew out, instantly transforming into a war chariot and stopping on the star compass. Wang Lin took a deep breath, and with his right hand, he formed a hand seal and placed it on the war chariot. Immediately, beast spirits roared, and a beast spirit suddenly appeared. Because the distance to Wang Lin was too close, the beast spirit immediately opened its mouth and swallowed. But Wang Lin was prepared. With his right hand forming a hand seal and a slight breath of spiritual energy, the iron chains above the war chariot fiercely contracted, pulling the beast spirit back. The beast spirit roared furiously, its eyes staring at Wang Lin with ferocity. Wang Lin looked up at the beast spirit, his right hand changing the hand seal, and immediately a fierce, shimmering black light appeared above the war chariot. Wang Lin turned his head, fully controlling the star compass. Based on his previous experience, he knew that it would take at least the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to open the chariot. The time passed quickly, and all the black light on the divine archer chariot was absorbed by the soul beast, its body growing even larger. During this process, it tried to devour Wang Lin more than once, but was blocked by the iron chains. Finally, the chariot fully opened. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and the star compass immediately stopped. He chanted a spell, holding the chariot still. Behind him, the old man, still in pursuit, changed his expression. He noticed Wang Lin had stopped ahead and immediately chased after him. At the same time, a powerful surge of soul power erupted. Wang Lin's consciousness instantly detected the old man. He placed the hand seals he had prepared on the divine archer chariot. Immediately, the iron chains on the soul beast disappeared, but the iron chains between it and Wang Lin remained, simultaneously flashing with an eerie light. The spirit beast glared fiercely at the old man, let out a roar, and charged forward with all its might, as if wanting to release all the resentment in its heart. The hunchbacked old man's expression immediately changed. He paused, his hands touching the symbols and markings on his body. Instantly, the symbols emerged from his body, rising 3 inches higher. At this moment, the spirit beast advanced, lunging at the old man, letting out a roar, but was immediately blocked by the 3-inch-high symbols flashing wildly around him. However, the power of the divine archery chariot was immense. The old man was repeatedly attacked, thrown hundreds of feet away before stopping. His eyes filled with bloodshot veins, he let out a loud scream, and the symbols on his body immediately rose another 5 inches. The spirit beast roared and slowed down. The old man, with bloodshot eyes, was about to drive away the spirit beast when Wang Lin, from afar, his eyes flashing, a cold smile playing on his lips. Holding his immortal sword in his right hand, he stopped his foot and leapt towards the old man, slashing down with a single blow. Taking advantage of the situation, Wang Lin was all too familiar with such tactics. With a single slash, the sword light merged into the shadows, unleashing a furious barrage of energy. Suddenly, a single strike landed directly on the hunchbacked old man. He roared, his eyes filled with blood. The symbols on his body dimmed slightly. His blood-red eyes glanced at Wang Lin, and immediately a seven-leaf plant appeared on his forehead. As the plant appeared, the symbols all over his body trembled, and his eyes flashed with killing intent. He raised his right hand towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin instantly felt a chill run down his spine. A wave of cold air surged from his abdomen, rapidly entering his body and, at incredible speed, penetrating his primordial spirit. The cold air condensed like a seed, beginning to sprout and grow. Wang Lin's face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of immortal blood. His body moved slightly, and he let out a loud shout as he brought his immortal sword down again. Then, he immediately changed direction and struck another blow. A series of sword lights bombarded the old man's body. The symbols on the old man's body continued to sink, and the soul beast's attack became even more ferocious, roaring as if to devour the old man. Seeing the soul beast about to swallow him, a strange light flashed in the old man's eyes. The bone bracelet on his right hand instantly shattered and fell from his grasp. Immediately, the bracelet emitted bursts of green light, revealing a symbol. This symbol was damaged and incomplete, with many broken parts, but a feeling that made Wang Lin fearful slowly emerged from it. The moment this symbol appeared, the surrounding black void instantly brightened, completely enveloping it in a six-pointed star. This is the symbol I received when I first entered the sect. It was through comprehending this symbol that I reached the seventh leaf. Youngster, you are fortunate to have seen this symbol. Death is well deserved, the old man said slowly. The symbol flashed. The beast spirit, which was about to devour the old man, immediately let out a roar, and a powerful green aura appeared on its massive body. It turned its head, staring at the symbol, its eyes revealing unwillingness. If it were in its prime years, it would have dared to fight this symbol, but now it had no choice but to retreat. The beast spirit roared, its body trembled, and the surging green aura was instantly shattered. The beast spirit quickly shrank and disappeared into nothingness. Wang Lin immediately noticed that when this symbol appeared, the seeds in his primordial spirit continuously sprouted and grew at a frenzied speed. Without hesitation, Wang Lin rushed towards the compass, controlling it to fly away at high speed. The spirit beast reappeared on the divine archer chariot. This time, it no longer wanted to devour Wang Lin, but weakened and disappeared inside the chariot. The old man watched Wang Lin quickly disappear, not pursuing him further, but bowed his head and looked at his chest. There were 3 dark marks on his chest, clearly from the wounds inflicted by Wang Lin's immortal sword. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He took a deep breath, half knelt, and turned towards the shattered green symbol. The symbol slowly shrank, finally merging into his body. The bone bracelet silently reappeared on his wrist. The old man stood up, transformed into a shooting star, and flew forward, chasing after Wang Lin. On the star compass, Wang Lin's eyes were closed, and a plant-like mark flickered on his forehead. Patterns spread from his forehead, continuing to extend from his face down to his neck. From Wang Lin's mouth, low growls emanated. He opened his eyes wide, a look of madness in them, but then immediately closed them again, deep in thought. He was in dire straits. Despite this, he maintained his composure, focusing on controlling the compass, relentlessly fleeing. The plants on Wang Lin's forehead grew eerily. Patterns spread across his entire body, even his back. These patterns formed bizarre shapes, spreading everywhere, their roots even digging into his flesh. Wang Lin's face contorted in agony. He opened his eyes wide, his hands forming a series of incantations. After a long while, a reddish glow flickered in his eyes, yet there was also a hint of clarity. However, a strange symbol appeared in his gaze. This symbol is truly sinister, Wang Lin thought to himself, his expression grim, his hand touching the pattern on his back. Within his body, the symbol had spread throughout his entire primordial spirit, like a large net enveloping it. The patterns on his skin were merely places where his primordial spirit was hidden. This symbol is like an ordinary life form, only capable of temporarily restraining it. Wang Lin remained silent, adjusting the spiritual power in his body for a long time. After his spiritual power stabilized, he placed his right hand on the divine archer chariot, and immediately the chariot transformed into a bracelet and fell into his hand. He consumed a huge amount of spirit stone to resist the chariot's gravitational pull, then a cold glint appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. He turned his head to look back. Behind him was a void. He could feel the hunchbacked old man chasing after him, and getting closer and closer. If it weren't for the super-speed star compass, he would have long since been caught by the hunchbacked old man. A persistent ghost, Wang Lin cursed inwardly. Having been on the run for almost a month, Wang Lin felt like he was running for his life again when he was in the Foundation establishment stage. In his storage bag, there were far more treasures than before. Miraculous elixirs and various spirit stones could restore his cultivation. Currently, his spiritual power was severely depleted, his speed greatly reduced, and he was being pursued. However, even if he used the elixirs, their effects only lasted for one day. Once the elixirs and spirit stones were used up, his spiritual power would be exhausted, and he would be unable to use the star compass. Waiting like this would only lead to his death. Run! Only run! Except for the unusable scroll, all his other magical artifacts were ineffective against his opponent. Currently, his opponent couldn't catch up. This time, it had become a battle of attrition, and whoever couldn't hold on any longer would be the loser. Wang Lin thought to himself, his eyes flashing, controlling the star compass, and continuing to fly faster. Calculating that this was a battle of attrition, Wang Lin consumed the elixirs with extreme caution, maximizing the effectiveness of the medicinal herbs, not wasting even the shortest amount of time. The hunchbacked old man continued his pursuit, becoming increasingly astonished as he chased. I didn't expect this young man to be able to maintain his speed for such a long time, although he knew. Wang Lin was using a magic artifact. All magic artifacts require the consumption of spiritual power. Yet, he controlled the magic artifact for so long, while still being controlled by the symbols. It was truly rare. This person must be a disciple of a major sect, perhaps even a disciple of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Humph, I must refine him into a puppet, then I will surely achieve miraculous results. That year, the people of the immortal tribe in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom used some kind of divine ability to ascend from the first level, but only puppets could do so. The person Wang Lin discovered outside Immortal Mountain was indeed a puppet, but only a low-level one. That's also why, after killing their enemies, the immortal tribe always collects the corpses. Otherwise, it's likely that the entire cultivation Demon Sea and neighboring countries would have long been wiped out by the immortal tribe, and they wouldn't be fighting over the search for demonic beasts. The hunchbacked old man's eyes flashed with a strange light as he continued his pursuit. This young man must have many elixirs, but no matter how many, they will eventually run out. That's when I will refine you into a puppet. The hunchbacked old man snorted softly. The space here was boundless. Wang Lin flew straight ahead, unable to see any end. The surroundings were the same as when he entered, still pitch black, devoid of any life. All day, Wang Lin was controlling the compass to escape when his expression suddenly changed. A strange demonic object flashed on his forehead, and the patterns within his body twitched and surged. It's acting up again. Wang Lin had to control the compass while simultaneously trying his best to restrain the spreading symbols. After a long time, when he opened his eyes, the symbols in his pupils had become even more intense. His entire hand was almost completely covered by the symbols. At this moment, if any cultivator saw him, they would surely think Wang Lin was from the immortal tribe. Wang Lin's face darkened, a hint of anger flashing through him. He felt that the patterns on his primordial spirit had activated and spread everywhere. Once his entire primordial spirit was enveloped by these patterns, he would completely transform into a puppet, as the hunchbacked old man had said. Since entering the immortal tribe's territory, Wang Lin had seen many puppets, all with eyes glowing red and emitting a stench of bestiality. They were neither human nor ghost. Wang Lin was worried. He knew that if this continued, his primordial spirit would be completely surrounded by the patterns before his elixirs ran out. He fumbled in his storage bag. Inside was a jade slip, a gift from the Grand Elder of the Yin sect, which could summon the Grand Elder once to save his life. However, he didn't even know where he was at the moment. How could he possibly use the jade slip to summon the Grand Elder? He was gloomy, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. Wang Lin had cultivated for nearly 500 years, facing countless life and death situations, making him incredibly resilient. Although he was in a state of panic, his thoughts were surprisingly calm. The most important thing right now is to remove the pattern from my body. Wang Lin sat cross-legged on the star compass, his eyes flickering as he calmly considered. This pattern comes from the plant on my forehead. All the wildlings of the immortal tribe have that plant on their foreheads. If it's a plant, no matter how the symbol transforms, it's always of the wood attribute, Wang Lin mused. In this moment of danger, he recalled, years ago, he had encountered a similar scene. Back when he was still in the Foundation establishment stage, he had encountered a fire spirit beast deep within the molten lava of the fire-burning kingdom. The fire spirit devoured the entire body of the cultivator to perfect itself. Previously, just as he was about to be devoured by the fire spirit, the heaven-defying pearl suddenly opened, absorbing the fire spirit and simultaneously achieving perfect fire attribute. Thinking of this, Wang Lin decided to give it a try. He took a deep breath, his right hand touching his forehead, and softly whispered, "Heaven-defying." Immediately, a great pearl slowly flew out from his forehead. The pearl had several leaf-shaped patterns on it. Aside from that, the pearl looked extremely ordinary, nothing special. Seeing the leaves on the heaven-defying pearl, Wang Lin let out a soft shout, his spiritual power surging through his body into the star compass. The star compass accelerated, flashing and speeding off into the distance. Immediately, Wang Lin withdrew his spiritual power. Knowing time was of the essence, he relied on the incredibly fast speed of the star compass. Although he withdrew his spiritual power, the star compass continued to move by inertia, flying a considerable distance. This brief period was Wang Lin's only option. Withdrawing his spiritual power, Wang Lin completely immersed himself in his primordial spirit, constantly focusing on his forehead to remove the strange pattern from his body. Very quickly, the bizarre plant emerged from his forehead. A cluster of tiny leaves slowly grew. Behind him, the hunchbacked old man immediately noticed Wang Lin slowing down, snorted softly, and strode forward to catch up. On Wang Lin's body, the strange pattern flickered, sometimes contracting towards his forehead, sometimes spreading further. With each flicker, Wang Lin trembled, his face contorting in pain. The plant in his forehead became increasingly clear. The first leaf unfolded, the second leaf stretched out. Suddenly, Wang Lin's eyes widened, revealing a look of madness, a glimmer of composure rapidly fading. He let out a loud shout, his eyes fixed on the heaven-defying pearl. The composure in his eyes slowly dissipated, but immediately reformed, repeating this cycle. Wang Lin was drenched in sweat, his clothes soaked. He was gambling. Although it was a transforming symbol, it was of the wood attribute. Once it was of the wood attribute, the heaven-defying pearl could absorb it. If he was wrong, he would immediately use all his strength to suppress the pattern. The hunchbacked old man continued to pursue him from behind, observing with a mocking look in his eyes. He believed that with the type of talisman he had cast, unless someone's cultivation was a notch higher than his, no one could solve it. He leapt forward and continued his chase. Wang Lin stared intently at the heaven-defying pearl, a thoughtful expression on his face. Just then, a faint blue light suddenly flashed from the heaven-defying pearl. Initially weak, it instantly brightened. Immediately afterward, the leaf that had just appeared on Wang Lin's forehead trembled and unexpectedly emerged from his forehead, being absorbed into the heaven-defying pearl and disappearing. As soon as the leaf vanished, Wang Lin's eyes instantly cleared. He was surprised and overjoyed. He immediately pointed his right hand at the heaven-defying pearl, and the pearl disappeared. Then Wang Lin fully controlled the compass, flying away at top speed. He knew time was of the essence. There was no more time to retrieve the heaven-defying pearl to continue absorbing the plant. If the pearl could absorb the leaf now, it would provide a solution to the puppet problem. He no longer worried and accelerated to escape. The hunchbacked old man saw Wang Lin's figure appear and then vanish in an instant. His expression darkened, and he frowned as he gazed into the distance. I didn't expect this young man to possess so many magical treasures, capable of neutralizing this kind of talisman. Just moments ago, the leaf was instantly absorbed by the heaven-defying pearl, and the old man immediately sensed something unusual, his heart instantly shaken. This person must have cultivated a talisman puppet. A cold, sharp glint flashed in the old man's eyes as he pursued him. Wang Lin, inwardly delighted, touched his temples, sat on the star compass, and thought to himself, unexpectedly, there is fortune in misfortune. Water, fire, and earth, the three attributes on the heaven-defying pearl, are all perfected. Only the metal attribute is completely absent. and the wood attribute is half complete. This time, after neutralizing the strange plant in my body, I wonder if the wood attribute will be perfected. Time passed, and Wang Lin forgot about the passage of time. Every day he frantically urged the star compass, constantly fleeing. More than half of the elixirs in his storage bag were gone, leaving only a few bottles, but the sense of danger behind him never dissipated. However, what made Wang Lin slightly happy was that the hunchbacked old man's speed was slowing down. If things continued like this, Wang Lin believed that it wouldn't be long before he could eliminate him. Although the elixirs are completely used up, I now have top-grade spirit stones. With that, I can hold out until that old fool is exhausted. Wang Lin looked back, a cold smile playing on his lips. That old fool thinks I don't know that this star compass has the teleportation ability. Wang Lin touched the star compass. He was extremely fond of it. The hunchbacked old man frowned, having pursued Wang Lin for months, yet the young man's speed only increased. At times, he had nearly caught up, but the young man's magic weapon would suddenly emit a white light, allowing him to teleport away. This terrified him, and at times angered him. He, a dignified seven-leaf spellcaster, couldn't possibly catch a mere junior. This was a humiliation. However, he wasn't a cultivator. His entire cultivation relied on the symbols within him. He couldn't have imagined that the young man could maintain such speed for 4 months. The hunchbacked old man's eyes flickered, and he fell silent for a moment. The power of the symbols within his body had been greatly depleted, leaving him unable to continue the pursuit. Most importantly, he felt a pang of unease, wondering how many more magic weapons and elixirs the young man still possessed. After a moment of contemplation, the hunchbacked old man's eyes revealed a look of unwillingness. He sighed inwardly, giving up the pursuit, and turned to leave. Wang Lin, flying, suddenly sensed that the danger behind him had subsided. He paused his star compass for a moment. Wang Lin turned his head to observe behind him, a thoughtful expression on his face. Not pursuing. Wang Lin's eyes flickered, and after a moment of contemplation, he determined whether the other party was no longer pursuing him, or if there was another scheme. Wang Lin sighed inwardly. If the other party only had late-stage nascent soul cultivation, then even if he was being pursued relentlessly, he would still counterattack once he realized he was no longer being chased. But that hunchbacked old man was equivalent to a nascent soul cultivator, so he had to be very careful. Wang Lin was silent for a moment, then snorted softly, and the star compass neither advanced nor retreated. The old man said nothing, watching Wang Lin's actions, his expression darkening. After hesitating for a while, he seemed to ignore it. After a while, the hunchbacked old man's face contorted even more. Wang Lin maintained a certain distance, following him closely. The old man, who hadn't noticed, suddenly turned around and shouted, "You truly have no regard for life or death." Then his body transformed into a shooting star, chasing after Wang Lin. Wang Lin laughed heartily, and the star compass instantly moved and disappeared into the void. After pursuing him for many days, the old man could no longer continue the chase. His power was weakening day by day. He snorted softly, turned around, and flew towards the exit. Wang Lin immediately stopped, his eyes flickering thoughtfully, and returned to bother him again. The hunchbacked old man ignored Wang Lin, turning his back and flying away. From this, Wang Lin knew that the hunchbacked old man wasn't using a trick, but genuinely couldn't continue the pursuit. From then on, the cold light in Wang Lin's eyes intensified. When he was a certain distance from the old man, he potted his storage bag, instantly grabbing his immortal sword and stepping on his compass. Without a word, the immortal sword in his hand flashed forward. After slashing 3 times in quick succession, Wang Lin quickly flew away. 3 streaks of sword light whistled, disappearing in an instant. The hunchbacked old man's face darkened, and he stopped, dodging Wang Lin's sword. He stared at the void where Wang Lin was hiding and shouted, "Young man, I'll spare you this time. Get out of here. If you follow me again, don't blame me for taking your life." After saying that, the old man ignored Wang Lin and hurried away. Wang Lin sneered, not only not retreating, but also approaching to harass him. A month later, the hunchbacked old man was extremely annoyed. He hated that he couldn't immediately catch up with the young man and tear him in two. But once he chased after him, Wang Lin would flee. Whenever he stopped, the other party would follow and harass him again. Although the sword light didn't injure him much, the constant provocation only worsened his mood. Wang Lin, you won't have a good ending. One day, he finally couldn't bear it any longer and roared towards the void behind him. The symbols all over his body flickered wildly, and a powerful pressure emanated from them. Wang Lin, far away, showed no fear and smiled, saying, "Senior, you've been pursuing me for months. Wouldn't it be a pity to let me go? It's better to continue the chase. I don't have many elixirs left in my bag. If you continue, I hope to catch up someday." The hunchbacked old man's eyes gleamed with a sinister light. He stared intently at the distant void, his body moved slightly, and he suddenly vanished from the spot. When he reappeared, he resentfully noticed a white light emanating from beneath the star compass. Suddenly, the old man's expression changed, and he quickly turned his head to look towards the exit. Wang Lin's teleportation wasn't an escape. He was heading towards the exit. "Senior, I destroyed this exit? You and I can stay here and wander around from now on. Wouldn't that be great?" From ahead, Wang Lin's voice slowly reached the old man, making him feel utterly disgusted. The old man roared, and his body suddenly lunged forward. He hated Wang Lin to the core. If Wang Lin didn't have that strange magical artifact, he would have long since pursued him, unlike now, caught in a dilemma, unable to chase him but also unable to leave. While the elixirs in Wang Lin's storage bag were useless, he still had top-grade spirit stones. With those, Wang Lin believed he could remain unharmed under the old man's pursuit. He once again brandished his immortal sword, unleashing several sword chow attacks to harass his opponent. This pursuit could be described as both a war of attrition and a psychological war. The old man couldn't guess how many elixirs and spirit stones Wang Lin possessed. The relentless pursuit had lasted for months, making him suspicious that the other party's elixirs were inexhaustible. Initially, he didn't believe it, but when he stopped pursuing him, Wang Lin bothered him again, making him more convinced. He thought that Wang Lin must have many more elixirs and spirit stones in his possession. If so, he wouldn't be able to pursue him unless the magic artifact under Wang Lin's feet suddenly broke down. The old man had also considered attacking the star compass, but not only was Wang Lin incredibly fast, he was also extremely cautious, instantly teleporting as soon as he reached a certain distance, leaving the old man with no opportunity to strike. Now Wang Lin changed direction and resumed the pursuit. However, compared to the previous pursuit, this time it wasn't Wang Lin who was frustrated, but the old man. Months later, Wang Lin had used up all his elixirs, and now he relied on top-grade spirit stones to restore his spiritual power. The more he pursued, the more impatient the old man became, and the more frequently he attacked, but he almost always failed when facing Wang Lin's star compass. The hunchbacked old man believed that if he could just hit Wang Lin once, he could injure the hateful brat, or at least render his magical artifact ineffective. Then he could kill him at will. Unfortunately, Wang Lin had been controlling the star compass for 8 months, and his use of it was extremely precise and flexible. At this moment, Wang Lin took out 4 top-grade spirit stones and placed them into the 4 empty spaces on the star compass. After completely using the spirit stones to power the compass, except for using a wisp of his divine consciousness to control the compass, most of his energy was focused on various magical artifacts to attack the hunchbacked old man. The Forbidden Scroll, the wooden statue of the Age-Old, the Black Seal, and several other magical artifacts, all of these appeared in Wang Lin's hands. In truth, these artifacts were ineffective against the hunchbacked old man, but Wang Lin became increasingly proficient in using them, his skill level steadily rising. After all, since he began cultivating, he had never encountered such an opportunity to freely use magical artifacts for attack. Each time he raised his sword, he continuously performed skillful movements. He could even use Suliku's soul to make the flying sword circle around his body within a 3-jang radius without directly holding it. Since then, the power of the immortal sword, while not increasing, became much more agile, all thanks to this old man. The old man hated him to the core. Along the way, his expression grew increasingly gloomy. A mere young cultivator, whom he could kill with a single finger, dared to toy with him and pursue him for months. To him, Wang Lin had naturally become an irreconcilable enemy, someone he had to kill. Once given the chance, he would not hesitate to tear Wang Lin apart, no longer needing him to refine into a puppet. Even the 3 swords in his storage bag were being wielded by Wang Lin. Along the way, although his cultivation hadn't increased, his understanding of his magical artifacts had improved significantly, a difference as vast as heaven and earth. Now, the power of the artifacts he used was much greater. Finally, he reached the door. Wang Lin saw a huge symbol flashing continuously, its gaping opening never closing. Wang Lin glanced through the crack and saw outside, where countless savages were gathered, their eyes shining brightly. Wang Lin snorted softly. He had no intention of leaving this place. His body flashed, and he leapt from the top of the star compass, his immortal sword slashing downwards. Immediately, with a loud bang, the symbol trembled, and a crack appeared. No! After 8 months of relentless pursuit without any restorative elixirs, the hunchbacked old man's symbol power was extremely weakened. Seeing the symbol about to collapse, he immediately shouted, his face filled with fear. He teleported, about to leap out, but Wang Lin struck again, and the symbol collapsed. The spatial crack closed. The old man's body trembled, staring blankly at the disappearing crack. Old fool, if I can't leave here, you won't escape either. Keep chasing. Wang Lin didn't stop. Having severed the symbol, he immediately returned to the compass and quickly flew away. His loud laughter echoed from afar. Madman, you're insane. Even if I die, I won't let you get away with this. The hunchbacked old man's eyes glowed red as he quickly turned and chased after Wang Lin. However, the symbol on his body was already very weak. After chasing for a while, the old man clenched his fists, raised his head, and let out a roar. Suddenly, he sat down cross-legged. A 7-leaf plant appeared on his forehead, and its leaves grew larger, enveloping him completely. Using the 7 leaves to completely cover his body, the old man disappeared inside, leaving only a huge plant standing alone in the void. Hopefully, with the help of the spirit clan, I can open the door. Inside the plant, the old man slowly closed his eyes. Wang Lin stood on the star compass, watching from afar as the hunchbacked old man transformed into a giant tree. Hesitating for a moment, his eyes flickering, he didn't bother any further, but turned and left. Along the way, he harassed the old man with restraint, prioritizing his own safety before taking action. At this moment, the hunchbacked old man had completely retreated, naturally filled with furious resentment. Although his strength was weakened, Wang Lin knew the difference between himself and the old man was immense. Without the star compass accelerating him, he would have long since become the old man's target for refining into a puppet. The old man was a 7-leaf spellcaster, equivalent to a nascent soul cultivator, and even though weakened, he still possessed means to kill him. Wang Lin believed he couldn't kill the old man. Not long after he left, amidst the giant tree, the hunchbacked old man opened his eyes wide. A red light flashed in his eyes as he suddenly sensed Wang Lin's location, noticing Wang Lin speeding away into the distance. He snorted softly, muttering, "What a pity. This person works cautiously. If his star compass arrives here, I can definitely kill him." The old man fell silent for a moment, using his clan spirit to connect with the outside world. Inside this void, the most terrifying thing is the lack of an exit. This place is unlike the outside world, where spatial rifts can be torn open. If he can't contact the outside world, this place will be like a labyrinth, trapping him forever. After a long while, his eyes showed worrying. As for Wang Lin, he had long since forgotten about him. At this moment, he only had one thought, to quickly use his clan spirit to contact his clansmen, asking them outside to help him open a rift so he could escape. Wang Lin was on the star compass, flying for a long time, feeling that there was no longer any danger behind him, but he remained cautious, flying for another day before slowing down. The surroundings were pitch black, his eyes calm, showing no signs of worrying. He sat cross-legged on the compass, his right hand touching his forehead, and immediately the heaven-defying pearl flew out. Then, within Wang Lin's body, spiritual power stirred slightly. Patterns reappeared on his body. However, the patterns were not numerous, only a few visible from the neck upwards. During his 8 months of flying, he had repeatedly used the heaven-defying pearl to absorb the plant symbols within his body, naturally absorbing more than half. At this moment, he let out a soft cry, a pained expression on his face. Gradually, the patterns on his neck slowly rose. Finally, all the patterns condensed at his forehead. As soon as the strange plant appeared there, the heaven-defying pearl immediately emitted a blue light, absorbing it. After a long time, Wang Lin opened his eyes. He took a deep breath, turned his head to look behind him, and muttered, "Finally, all the plant symbols have been eliminated. The immortal tribe's spell is too bizarre. If I encounter them again in the future, I must be extremely careful." He raised his right hand and grasped the heaven-defying pearl before him. 9 leaves unfolded on the pearl. The last leaf had also opened more than halfway. Wang Lin's face lit up with joy. The pearl instantly vanished the moment it touched his forehead. This harvest was truly immense. The wood attribute of the heaven-defying pearl was almost complete. The most important thing now was to figure out a way to leave this place. Wang Lin pondered for a moment. Before he cut off the hunchbacked old man's escape route, he had already calculated the situation, which is why he didn't hesitate to use his sword to destroy the exit symbol. Without external help, it would be very difficult to escape from within. However, Wang Lin had his main body outside. He sat cross-legged on the compass, concentrating on sensing the location of his main body. Outside the immortal realm of Chu underground, several thousand miles away, a cluster of purple light was flashing. Amidst the purple light, a man sat cross-legged, his hair a deep red, his skin a rough bronze color marked with tiny cracks. 2 points on his forehead, forming a yin-yang symbol, slowly rotated. Suddenly, he opened his eyes wide, a murderous glint in them. He pondered for a moment, then, with a swift movement, he leapt like lightning from his cross-legged position, instantly landing on the ground. He patted his hip, and black robes instantly donned him. At this moment, he looked like an ordinary cultivator, nothing unusual. He stomped his foot, entering the immortal forest. Beneath an ancient tree, he clenched his right hand and punched forcefully into the void. Immediately, cracking sounds echoed, and a spatial rift appeared, spinning continuously, surrounded by fragments. After a moment, he shook his head and continued forward. Almost every 10 steps, he would throw a punch into the void, gradually opening up spatial rifts. Repeating this process, he gradually increased his speed, step by step heading towards the immortal forest. He continued straight ahead, creating over 1,000 spatial rifts in a short time. Upon reaching the immortal forest's deep pit, he glanced down. Then he turned and continued straight ahead, creating another spatial rift every 10 steps. Time passed slowly, his expression unchanged. On the northern slope of the immortal forest, the ground was covered with decaying vegetation, and as he walked, a rustling sound could be heard. After about 10 steps, he was about to throw another punch when his expression suddenly changed. He looked into the distance, a cold glint in his eyes, and his figure flashed, then vanished from the spot. On the northern slope of the immortal forest, a man and a woman appeared, flying rapidly. The woman was a beautiful woman dressed in white silk. The man was an old man in a green robe. They were flying through the air. Suddenly, the old man's expression changed. He embraced the woman, and both immediately retreated. The moment they retreated, the ground before them suddenly rumbled, and numerous cracks appeared. Standing in the cracks was a man with red hair and a cold expression. It was Wang Lin's true form. The true form coldly glanced at the two, and with a loud boom, his right hand unleashed a punch. The old man in the green robe's face changed color. He potted his storage bag, and a mountain-shaped magic artifact flew out, catching the wind and transforming into a massive mountain, suddenly stopping before him. The venerable one's eyes were calm, his fist still moving forward, stopping on the mountain. Boom! A deafening explosion. The mountain flashed with golden light, but the golden light was useless, instantly collapsing. The entire massive mountain instantly turned into rubble, sweeping the two figures back. The old man in the blue robe's face darkened, pulling the woman in white to a halt. The venerable one's hand remained clenched, his foot stomping forcefully, the ground beneath his feet instantly shattering. He flew forward, unleashing another punch. The old man spat out a stream of white light, which transformed into a flying sword. A cold aura flickered above the flying sword, and within it was a purple line, clearly extremely hard, a rarity compared to those who had also cultivated flying swords. The flying sword flashed in space, stabbing straight at the venerable one. The venerable one's expression remained unchanged. He snorted softly, and the fist and sword clashed. Brother, instantly, the flying sword rapidly collapsed in midair, shattering into countless tiny fragments and vanishing completely. At the same time, a divine realm of a nascent soul cultivator suddenly emanated from the flying sword, entering the venerable's body through his fist. The Venerable's eyes flashed. As an ancient god, he didn't possess a divine realm, but he did have a surge of killing intent. His hair fluttered behind him, and a red aura instantly flickered within his body. The old man's divine realm immediately weakened and collapsed within the Venerable's body. The Venerable clenched his fist and advanced again. The old man's eyes showed a hint of terror. He pulled the girl in white silk and retreated. The Venerable continued the pursuit. "Fellow Taoist, what's going on? I don't understand." The old man shouted, retreating further. Seeing the opponent's fist, he was clearly terrified. Throughout his life, except for the warriors of the Immortal tribe, he had never encountered a cultivator with such an attack. His magical artifacts were quickly destroyed, and spatial rifts appeared with every step, terrifying him. The Venerable One snorted softly, his body moved slightly, and he unleashed another punch. Immediately, the old man and the girl were surrounded on all sides by divine power, as if imprisoned. "Receive your death," the Venerable One shouted softly. The old man cried out in despair. He looked at the girl, his eyes filled with terror and hopelessness. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Miss, let me borrow your magic saber for a moment." The girl patted her storage bag, and a white light flashed out. The old man grabbed it. After taking the saber, the old man pulled the girl closer, bit his tongue, and spat out a mouthful of immortal blood onto the blade. At the same time, the Venerable One's fist slammed down, aiming for the old man's head. The old man trembled, immediately risking his life, shouting loudly. The blade in his hand flew out, desperately using it to shield himself. A clear boom echoed, a crack appeared on the blade, and a piece of it flew off. The old man in the green robe gritted his teeth, his face grim, clearly showing fear. He retreated, moving with incredible speed, unexpectedly pulling the girl in white silk out of their confinement. "Senior, stop! Even if you want to kill us, too, you must tell us the reason." The girl in white silk said quickly, her voice filled with panic. The Venerable One withdrew his fist, his cold eyes fixed on the two. Immediately, the surroundings fell silent. Only the sound of wind rustling their clothes could be heard. There was no other sound. The old man in the green robe was drenched in sweat, terrified beyond belief. The old man racked his brain, but couldn't remember when he'd met this red-haired man or what offense he'd committed against him. "Where are you two from?" the Venerable One asked coldly. The woman in white silk was startled. Without thinking, she hastily replied, "I am from the state of Chu, passing through here, and I am on my way to the state of Chu." "Why lie? Do you want to die?" The Venerable One's eyes flashed as he looked at the two, his gaze like that of someone looking at the dead. Before he could move, his right foot instantly kicked forward. A loud crash echoed, and the old man dodged, but it was too late. He let out a loud cry, controlling the broken sword in front of him. Boom! The broken sword shattered. The old man's body transformed into a shooting star, instantly plummeting from midair. "Senior, we have no enmity between us. Why are you so determined to kill me?" The woman in white silk, her eyes filled with tears, said in a trembling voice. The Venerable One, with an icy demeanor, looked towards the woman in the white silk dress. "Where did you two come from?" The Venerable One's face was icy cold as he spoke slowly. The woman in white silk trembled, glancing down to see if the old man in green was alive or dead. Having lost all hope, she dared not lie, and softly said, "This junior came from the Immortal Land. From the Immortal Land, when you left, there were 7 of you. Why are there only 2 of you now?" The Venerable One glanced at the woman in white silk, speaking calmly. The woman in white silk trembled again, fearfully looking at the red-haired man. The more she looked, the more familiar he seemed, yet she was certain she had never met him before. "This junior has a hidden sorrow," the woman in white silk said bitterly. "Follow me." The Venerable One glanced at the woman in white silk, turned, and flew rapidly towards the Immortal Mountain Forest. The woman in white silk hesitated for a moment, then followed. As for the old man in the green robe, the Venerable One didn't even bother to look at him. A single kick from him would surely kill him. The old man in the green robe was merely at the early stage of the transformation god realm, and he had no protective spells. But at this moment, the Venerable One suddenly let out a cry, lowering his head to look at the spot where the old man in the green robe had fallen. There, a severely injured person slowly stood up. A dark aura swirled around him. Inside, a 5-leaved plant flickered and shone. Amidst the dark aura, The old man in the green robe spat out fresh blood, his face contorted in pain, yet his eyes remained bright. The venerable one merely glanced at him, his expression immediately turning grim. He then turned to look at the woman in the white silk dress. Her face was pale, devoid of color, and she remained silent. So that's how it was. The venerable one instantly understood the whole situation. Why these two hadn't died and had easily escaped from the immortal realm. The venerable one raised his right hand, pointing down at the old man, intending to kill him. At this moment, the woman in white silk immediately moved, standing before the old man in green, kneeling on the ground, and lowering her voice, said, "Senior, I and 5 others surely know you. Please don't make things difficult for us. If you must kill me." The old man in green struggled to his feet, turning his head to look at the venerable one, saying, "Kill me if you want. I've long since given up on living. Dying at your hands would be a release. It's better than being turned into a puppet by someone else. It's just that my young mistress doesn't agree to my death." The venerable one's eyes flickered as he looked at the two for a moment, then remotely seized them both, flying away and into the immortal realm. Along the way, the old man in the green robe's wounds gradually healed, though the illusory plant root kept flickering between his eyebrows. The woman in the white silk dress remained silent, her eyes closed. Soon, the venerable one arrived at the deep pit in the center of the immortal forest. After falling to the ground, the venerable one punched the deep pit. Immediately, a spatial rift appeared, its interior pitch black. He flicked his fingertip, sending 2 drops of fresh blood to the foreheads of the old man in green and the woman in white silk, throwing them both straight into the rift. "If you can find Wang Lin inside, I will spare your lives." The venerable one's voice lingered in their ears. Then the rift vanished. The venerable one sat cross-legged outside the pit, silent. He couldn't enter the rift because if no one opened a way out, Wang Lin would be forever trapped in the void. But if no one entered, the search would be too difficult, which is why he didn't kill these two. He deliberately left a mark on their bodies, making them search for Wang Lin. Inside the void, Wang Lin sat cross-legged on the star compass. At this moment, he opened his eyes wide, his gaze flashing, and muttered, "So that's how it is." A cold glint flashed in his eyes, and he stood up, controlling the compass to fly into the air. His divine consciousness spread out, entering the void to search for the two. Time slowly passed. All day, Wang Lin controlled the compass, flying very fast through space. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. He saw 2 people flying ahead, not far away. It was the old man in green robes and the woman in white silk robes. At this moment, the two were somewhat struggling, their breaths weak. Seeing Wang Lin, their faces immediately showed complex expressions. The woman in white silk seemed about to say something, but then stopped. Afterward, she sighed softly and said nothing more. Wang Lin coldly looked at the two, glanced at them, and with a slight movement of his body, flew closer to them. He raised his right hand. Immediately, 2 drops of fresh blood flew from their foreheads and landed neatly in Wang Lin's hand. "Senior, The woman in white silk hesitated for a moment, then lowered her voice. Wang Lin completely ignored them. After collecting the blood, he gestured with his right hand, and the star compass immediately landed neatly in his hand, which he then placed into his storage bag. Just then, the venerable one, sitting cross-legged outside the deep pit, suddenly opened his eyes wide, a flash of intelligence appearing in them. He punched into the void, and immediately, a circular spatial rift appeared. This crack appeared within the void, right where Wang Lin was standing. Seeing the crack suddenly open before him, he wasn't surprised and quickly stepped out. From beginning to end, he and the other two didn't exchange a single word. After Wang Lin stepped through the crack, it naturally disappeared, leaving the two inside the void. When Wang Lin emerged from the deep pit outside, he felt the sunlight shining on him. He took a deep breath. The feeling of being alive brought him relief. He glanced down into the pit, his body moving slightly. Both he and his true self instantly vanished. That day, Wang Lin, having left the immortal realm, stopped outside the forest, opened his pagoda, sat cross-legged beneath it, and closed his eyes. His true self sat with him. A day later, they both opened their eyes. Wang Lin patted his storage bag, taking out a dazzlingly bright reincarnation orb. He pondered thoughtfully. The orb's requirements were clearly suitable for the venerable one. Unfortunately, there's only one. Wang Lin tossed it, and the Venerable One caught it in his hand. The Venerable One squeezed hard. Immediately, the orb shattered, and a thick, yellowish liquid flowed out. There wasn't much liquid, only a small amount, but after it touched the Venerable One's skin, cracks appeared, and the liquid seeped in through the cracks. In an instant, it spread everywhere. At this moment, the Venerable One's body was like a golden net. His entire body was covered in cracks. Initially, there was nothing unusual, but now bursts of golden light emanated from it. Gradually, the golden light became brighter and brighter. Finally, it merged into the flesh and blood through the cracks, gradually disappearing into the Venerable One's body. The Venerable One's expression remained unchanged. A moment later, a flash of golden light appeared in his eyes. All his meridians disappeared, and the speed of absorbing the spiritual power of heaven and earth increased countless times. Now, the true self was officially considered a member of the ancient god clan. As for the reincarnation fruit, it had now vanished. The true self stood up, took a step, and sank into the ground, disappearing from sight. Wang Lin took a deep breath, patted his storage bag, and a piece of reincarnation wood appeared before him. He picked up a piece and began to craft a wooden statue of the passage of time. Time, like the passage of years, slowly passed. In Chu family village, Chu Aryu was 3 years old. She was born somewhat beautiful, but at 3 years old, she had never spoken. Because of this, her parents had consulted many doctors and given her many medicines, but to no avail. Little Chu's temperament was also different from the other children in the village. She didn't play but sat in her courtyard, gazing up at the sky, her eyes revealing a mesmerizing look. Churu's father was a middle-aged man with rough hands, sitting in the courtyard, sighing. For years, he had bought many precious medicines and consulted numerous doctors for his daughter. Unfortunately, the child still didn't speak. Could she be deaf and mute? Churu's father sighed inwardly. One day, an old man, dressed in a Taoist robe, arrived at Chu family village. Several elders in the village came out to greet him and summoned all the children under 6 years old. Soon, 19 children arrived with their parents and walked into the center of the village. Chu Aryu and her parents were also present. Chu Aryu had large, sharp eyes that seemed mesmerized. She was a little frightened and clutched her mother's clothes. Her mother knelt down and gently comforted her. Then, when it was her turn, a man looked up at her and whispered, "Ruer is too young." "I consider myself helpless." Churu's mother shook her head and said, "Let's see. If they really get a choice, this child will be rich and prosperous in the future." Shinni's mother bit her lower lip and said nothing. The old man in the Taoist robe, with his arrogant demeanor, vaguely revealed a hint of impatience. He had already visited several villages and still hadn't found anyone. If the sect didn't have a rule that every 6 years disciples must search for someone with a spiritual root, he wouldn't have come down the mountain. He had been to Chu family village 6 years ago and 12 years ago, and hadn't found a child with a spiritual root. 6 years ago in Liu family village, he found a child with a spiritual root. This time, he might find another one like that. If he found one, he could get 3 mid-grade spirit stones. The old man muttered to himself, glancing at the children, his brows furrowing even more, his eyes filled with disappointment. Suddenly, his gaze fell on Chu Aryu, and he was startled. He took a few steps closer to Chu Aryu, lightly touching her forehead with his right hand, and his face immediately lit up with joy. This child, born with innate spiritual power, all her meridians are open. Purple light permeates her body. Excellent. The old man stared at Chu Aryu, his eyes looking not at a child, but at a top-grade, sparkling spirit stone. Although his sect was small, it depended on the Cloud Heaven sect for its survival, and the sect had some spirit stones. The sect master, though usually stingy, still offered generous rewards to those who found disciples with exceptional talent. "This child, I want her." The old man laughed heartily, speaking to some of the village elders. Churu's eyes showed panic, and she clutched her mother's sleeve, her small face pale. Churu's mother looked at Chu Aryu with a reluctant expression, embracing her and looking at her husband with pleading eyes. Churu's father was silent for a moment, then whispered, "Taoist master, this child is born deaf and mute. It doesn't matter." The old man's right hand flicked, and Churu's mother's body trembled, recoiling several steps. He embraced Chu Aryu, laughing, "Very well, come with me." Chu Aryu looked terrified, her body shaking, tears streaming down her face. She was only 3 years old, and at this moment, she felt extremely frightened. Churu's father gritted his teeth, about to speak, when suddenly the old man raised his eyebrows, turned his head, and coldly said, "It's your good fortune that I've taken a liking to your child. Don't make a fuss." At this moment, several old men from the village also stepped forward to try and reason with Churu's parents. The old man snorted softly, saying, "I'm not taking your child away, but bringing her great luck. You will see her again someday." Having said that, he moved his body and headed towards the village gate. In utter terror, Chu Aryu immediately burst into tears, her voice filled with panic. "Father, mother," a childish voice suddenly came from her mouth. The old man was stunned, then laughed heartily, saying, "So she's not mute, that's even better." "My child," the woman's tears flowed freely as she tried to chase after them, but Churu's father stopped her. He stared blankly in the direction the old Taoist had disappeared, lowering his voice. "Being chosen is a blessing for her." The old man walked out of the gate, becoming increasingly excited, muttering, "A top-grade spirit stone. Ha ha. With this top-grade spirit stone, I can attempt to break through to the mid-stage of Foundation establishment. Little one, I won't mistreat you. When you grow up, I'll take you as my disciple." He was about to draw his flying sword and fly back to the sect when Chu Aryu suddenly bit his arm. However, how much strength could a 3-year-old child possibly have? But the old man raised his eyebrows, snorted softly, and said, "Little brat, you don't appreciate my kindness, do you?" Having said that, he swung his left hand, intending to slap Chu Aryu to teach her a lesson so she wouldn't cry on the way home, as if he had simply stolen a doll. "How dare you?" The old man raised his hand, but suddenly a chill ran down his spine, and sweat poured down his entire body. A young man in white had appeared before him, seemingly out of nowhere. The old man hastily released Chu Aryu, respectfully saying, "Senior, Junior." Before he could finish, Wang Lin flicked his sleeve, and the old man's body was like a gust of wind, disappearing into the distance. Wang Lin stared at Chu Aryu in astonishment. A year ago, he had sent Taiyan back to the Cloud Heaven sect and personally guarded Chu Aryu. He had witnessed everything that happened today and had intended to act immediately, but after a moment's consideration, he stopped. He waited until the old Taoist brought Chu Aryu away from her parents before appearing. Upon seeing Wang Lin, the fear in Churu's eyes vanished, replaced by a deep sense of bewilderment. "Uncle, uncle, uncle," Churu's clear voice said. Uncle Wang Lin sighed softly, gently saying, "Will you come with uncle?" The bewilderment in Churu's eyes deepened. She looked at Wang Lin, not understanding why this uncle before her made her feel so reluctant to leave, and nodded. Wang Lin's eyes showed a complex expression. He embraced Chu Aryu, waved his hand, and a spiritual light enveloped her, as if afraid the cold wine during flight would freeze her. He leapt up, carrying Chu Aryu, and gradually disappeared into the horizon. Below the immortal Jade Pagoda, Wang Lin and Chu Aryu appeared here, beside a stone building, and changed from that year. "We're home." Wang Lin put Chu Aryu down, lowering his voice. Chu Aryu silently nodded, her big eyes curiously looking around, but she didn't wander around, just stood beside Wang Lin. No matter where Wang Lin went, the little girl clung to him. Even when Wang Lin sat down, she would silently sit beside him, her eyes showing a hint of bewilderment. At night, after Chu Aryu had fallen asleep, Wang Lin sat by the bed, gazing at Churu's small, dreamy face, and whispered, "Water, your nascent soul is unstable right now, and your memory can't recover. It will naturally recover when you turn 19. He looked at Chu Aryu, and scenes from that year with Li Muan flashed through his mind. Sighing softly, Wang Lin covered Chu Aryu with a blanket and got up to go outside. Chu Aryu was unlike him. She could replenish her body's needs simply by sitting down. For a 3-year-old child, plants were essential for her physical development. Outside the stone house, Wang Lin used magic to create a kitchen. For nearly 500 years, he hadn't cooked. After going out and buying a large quantity of various plants, Wang Lin personally cooked a meal for Chu Aryu. Early in the morning, Chu Aryu opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was Wang Lin meditating beside her. She silently watched him, resting her chin on her hand. Wang Lin opened his eyes, patted Churu's head, and smiled, saying, "Are you hungry?" Chu Aryu nodded. Wang Lin summoned a bowl of rice with his right hand, offering it to Chu Ryu. She widened her eyes and said, "Uncle, how can this bowl fly?" Wang Lin smiled, said nothing, and simply closed his eyes and sat down cross-legged. Time passed slowly, and Wang Lin immersed himself in this way. Day by day, Chu Ryu slowly grew up. A feeling similar to when he had attained the mortal realm years ago gradually arose in his heart. It was a sense of peace, a sense of tranquility. One day, Wang Lin was meditating when a terrified scream suddenly echoed from the stone house. Wang Lin flashed into the room and found little Ryu lying on the bed, her blanket kicked aside, her small hands clenched tightly. A look of struggle was etched on her face. "Uncle, save me, Uncle, Father, Mother." Wang Lin placed his right hand on little Ryu's forehead, slowly channeling a stream of spiritual energy. Gradually, little Ryu recovered and opened her eyes. Her eyes shone like stars. Upon seeing Wang Lin, she burst into tears, sobbing. Wang Lin couldn't help but smile. It turned out she had had a nightmare. In her dream, she was in a pitch-black place, unable to see anything. Her parents had abandoned her. Her uncle had left, leaving her all alone. "Take this. If you ever encounter anything like this again, shake this bell." From his storage bag, Wang Lin took out a bell and placed it in the little girl's hand. This bell was obtained from Qiu Siping. After several days of study, he discovered that this bell was of the same type as the ancient cultivator's spirit bell artifact. After studying the 3 bells, Wang Lin discovered several incantations. After trying out the method of using them, he was very satisfied with their power. Even more special was the strange connection between the 3 bells. As long as he rang the bell, no matter where he was, he could clearly sense it. Furthermore, from Qiu Siping's storage bag, Wang Lin also found a sword scabbard. Upon seeing this scabbard, Wang Lin immediately took out 3 scabbards from his own storage bag. After comparing them, the 4 scabbards were identical, only the patterns on them differed slightly. Time passed quickly, and 2 years flew by. Chu Ryu was now 5 years old. Over these 2 years, Wang Lin had often found himself both amused and exasperated. The little girl was no longer as quiet as before. She had become somewhat stubborn. When Wang Lin wasn't around, she would play with the bell. The moment the bell stirred, Wang Lin would immediately appear beside her. Wang Lin felt a little helpless about this behavior, but he didn't say anything. However, after a few times, Chu Ryu cleverly realized this and stopped ringing it, instead cherishing it and keeping it close to her chest, always keeping it by her side like a treasure. During these 2 years, Wang Lin had also taken her back to see her parents once, but only when they were fast asleep. One day, Wang Lin was meditating outside the stone house when he opened his eyes and saw Chu Ryu tiptoeing out of the pagoda, a bowl in her hand. After seeing Wang Lin, the little girl stuck out her tongue and ran to his side, saying, "Uncle, I went to see the immortal sister just now, but she didn't eat." When Chu Ryu was 4 years old, she secretly ran up and saw the white-robed female corpse on the pagoda. After that, she remembered it vividly and occasionally ran up to see this female corpse, completely unafraid. Once, she even brought the bowl of rice that Wang Lin had given her, wanting to give it to the female corpse. Wang Lin was both amused and exasperated by this, but he didn't scold her. After all, Chu Ryu was still young, and he let her do whatever she wanted. However, he did have to explain the matter of eating to Chu Ryu, but she still didn't understand why the white-robed sister always slept and didn't eat. "The immortal sister doesn't eat, so next time you don't need to bring her food," Wang Lin said helplessly. He felt this whole thing was a bit chaotic. Unexpectedly, little Chu Ryu called the female cultivator fairy sister and addressed him as uncle. If Chuyi were to return from the Great Luo Star one day and hear this, what kind of expression would he have? "Isn't she hungry? If I don't eat for a day, I'll be very hungry." Little Ruer opened her big, round eyes and asked in confusion. Then she added, "I put the bowl of rice next to her so she can eat when she wakes up." "Uncle, you can't stop me." Wang Lin smiled wryly, about to speak, when his expression suddenly changed slightly. He looked into the distance and said, "Little Ruer, go into the tower." The bad guys are here again. They're so hateful. They finally came." Chu Ryu obediently nodded, picked up the bowl of rice, and went back into the tower. A year ago, various cultivators from other cultivation nations came one after another, using the pretext of challenging Zhang Niu to a battle. Initially, Wang Lin paid no attention to these people, opening the pagoda's spiritual realm to prevent them from entering. However, these people not only showed no restraint but became even more reckless. Although they couldn't enter, they occupied the surrounding mountain peaks, brazenly wielding their magical artifacts to attack the area. One night, Xu Aryu was awakened by the noise of these magical artifacts and burst into tears. At that moment, Wang Lin's figure flashed, and he stepped outside. When he returned, 7 blood-soaked skulls appeared outside the valley. From then on, there was absolutely no sound outside at night. However, challengers continued to arrive incessantly. There were even some renowned cultivators at the nascent soul stage. After that, Wang Lin showed no mercy to his challengers. He killed one who came. Gradually, the number of challengers decreased, though some still remained. Tang Niu, Liao Fan of the Snow Region Kingdom, bring me the Feather Fan relic. An extremely cold voice slowly echoed from within the valley. Snowy Abyss Kingdom Wang Lin's gaze remained calm as he stepped forward, reaching the valley in just a few steps. Outside, a young man stood. He wore a long, sea-blue robe, his appearance ordinary, yet radiating an icy aura. His eyes shone brightly, his skin translucent like ice. He stood casually, yet within 100 yards around him, a chilling wind swept through, carrying away all the warmth. Upon seeing Wang Lin emerge, a cold glint flashed in his eyes as he clasped his hands and said, "Zhang Niu, bring out the feather fan." Yu Bao, Wang Lin glanced at the young man. His cultivation was at the mid-stage of the transformation god realm. He potted his storage bag, and 2 feathers appeared in his hand. He swung them, creating 2 arcs. With a loud bang, they struck the valley's rock wall, leaving only a small part exposed, slightly trembling. The young man's body moved slightly, instantly leaping towards the cliff. Wang Lin patted his storage bag with his right hand, and 2 bells appeared in his hand. He rang them, and a series of tinkling sounds immediately rang out. The sound was extremely clear, transforming into sound waves that spread in all directions. Liao Fan snorted softly, his right hand forming a hand seal and pointing to the side. A white light flashed, and sharp ice blades silently appeared, which he swung. These ice blades immediately emitted a whistling sound as they slashed towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin laughed loudly, his body not retreating but advancing, throwing the 2 bells in his hand. In midair, they suddenly expanded, and a series of banging sounds erupted from within. The ice blades, before they could get close, showed signs of shattering, instantly dissipating amidst the banging sounds. Even the cliffs of the valley showed layers of cracks under the sound waves of the bells. Liao Fan's expression remained unchanged. He had heard that Zhang Niu was very powerful, so he had obeyed the order to come here. Originally, it wasn't for the martial treasure, but rather to investigate. His body landed on the ground, a cold glint flashed in his eyes, and he formed a hand seal, pushing forward forcefully. A series of white lights flickered continuously around his body. With his push, these white lights instantly emanated from his body, transforming into a large illusory figure before him. This illusory figure was not the Snow Lotus Jade Ice Immortal that Wang Lin was familiar with, but an old man sitting cross-legged. A moment after the transformation, the old man's illusory figure opened his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he formed a hand seal with his right hand, sending a spiritual seal onto the bell. Immediately, the 2 bells spun rapidly, constantly colliding with each other. This was indeed a method of using this magical artifact that Wang Lin had discovered after studying it. The 2 bells rotated and collided, the sound becoming even more intense. Liao Fan instinctively moved back several meters before regaining his balance, staring intently at the 2 bells, and softly shouting, "Kill!" The illusory image of the old man instantly raised its arm and pointed towards Wang Lin. The entire illusory image contracted, transforming into a stream of illusory energy, suddenly striking Wang Lin. It flew as fast as lightning. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and his body disappeared from the spot, reappearing in the sky. But this illusory image, transformed into a stream of illusory energy, seemed to possess sentience, suddenly leaping straight up from the ground. "Zhang Niu, if you only have this much skill, then die today." Liao Fan stared intently at Wang Lin, sneering. He potted his storage bag with his right hand, and a bronze bell appeared. Above this bronze bell are 12 numbers, representing the 12 months of the Vermilion Bird Star. Below each month are countless tiny symbols representing each day of the 12 months. He patted the bronze bell with his left hand, and immediately these numbers slowly began to move. The number representing August flashed with a blue light, followed by the next symbols. Today is the 9th of August. Zheng Niu, this is your day of death. After saying this, Liao Fan threw the bronze bell in his hand, which instantly transformed into a huge demonic claw. Inside the demonic claw, two golden rays of light continuously flashed. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. He formed a hand seal with his right hand and pointed at the bell from a distance. Immediately, the two rotating bells clashed together with a thunderous crash, shattering into pieces. Countless small fragments suddenly rose into the air, rapidly moving around Wang Lin. Wang Lin softly uttered, "Armor." Instantly, the fragments contracted, enveloping Wang Lin and forming a shimmering blue armor adorned with the design of two bells. Facing the illusory energy transformed from the old man's phantom, Wang Lin didn't bother to dodge, allowing it to strike the armor. Immediately, countless tiny ripples appeared on the armor's surface, weakening the illusory energy. With another tremor, the energy dissipated. This Soundwave spirit armor is truly effective. Wang Lin smiled, his gaze fixed on Liao Fan. At this moment, the ghostly claw transformed from the bronze bell had already reached out. Wang Lin snorted softly, his right hand patting his storage bag, and a celestial sword instantly appeared in his hand. He slashed down, instantly shattering the ghostly claw, and the bronze bell also emitted several cracking sounds, a crack appearing on its surface. Even Liao Fan, behind him, had blood oozing from his chest. He stumbled back several steps, clutching his chest with his right hand, his face pale. But his eyes showed a look of accomplishment as he laughed maniacally. "Zheng Niu, prepare to die." Wang Lin raised his eyebrows. Just then, a screeching sound erupted from the crack in the bronze bell. Immediately afterward, more cracks appeared. Suddenly, a withered arm stretched out from within, trembling. The entire bronze bell turned into fragments of metal, gradually shattering. Only a black mass of gas remained, like a flickering flame. Wang Lin formed a hand seal and swung it forward. A strange wind immediately swept out, blowing the black flame 3 feet away, revealing a withered, severed arm inside, suspended in midair. The black gas was emanating from this severed arm. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and the immortal sword in his hand flashed down again. With a loud bang, the black mist above the arm instantly flew back to cover the severed arm. But the sword light also pierced through the black mist, cutting down the arm. Immediately, a wound appeared on the upper part of the arm. A howling sound emanated from within. Immediately afterward, a large amount of black mist gushed out from the wound. This black mist strangely fluctuated, unexpectedly transforming into the shape of a person. This was a faceless figure, only visible from the two eyes, which emitted two streams of dark light. Wang Lin's expression was serious. This Liao Fan was a rare opponent. Although only a mid-stage transformation god, he possessed countless magical artifacts. Such a cultivator was extremely difficult to deal with. The figure formed from the black mist opened a large mouth, let out a roar, and moved slightly, attacking Wang Lin. His speed was extremely fast. Before his body even arrived, the chilling aura immediately spread. A sense of danger surged from the depths of Wang Lin's heart. The grass on the ground outside the mountain valley instantly turned into ice crystals, and in the blink of an eye, it melted into a cloud of blue dust in the wind. Even the cliffs surrounding the valley were covered in tiny blue ice shards under the onslaught of the cold air. This cold air was several times colder than the cold of snow and ice. This frenzied aura surged up, instantly enveloping Wang Lin. The cold air entered his body, nearly freezing his blood. The moment he recognized this aura, Wang Lin's mind was shaken. His eyes immediately lit up. He was very familiar with this aura. It was clearly the unique and cold aura of cultivating the Yellow Springs Ascending Aperture technique. However, the opponent's Ian Cold aura was countless times stronger than his own cultivation. Only back then, when Sichu Nan used his body to unleash it, could it compare to this. Wang Lin's body instantly retreated, and at the same time, his right hand formed a hand seal, pointing forward. Immediately, the ice flame, obtained from cultivating the Yellow Springs Ascending Aperture technique and rarely used, moved from within his body, appearing at his fingertips. It was a deep blue flame, not emitting heat waves but rather icy coldness. The moment the ice flame appeared, the yin cold aura within Wang Lin's body instantly dissipated, and even the surrounding yin coldness instantly transformed into streams of black energy. Absorbed by the ice flame, the figure formed from the black energy that attacked immediately stopped, the dark light in its eyes flashing rapidly as it stared at the ice flame. A hoarse voice coming from its mouth. Yellow Springs ice flame, even my master, who left behind the Yellow Springs Dao back then, couldn't cultivate such pure ice flame. Where did you get the Yellow Springs ascending aperture technique from? Wang Lin's body instantly retreated. After only a few steps, he entered the vicinity of the pagoda in the valley and stopped. Who are you? Upon hearing the voice emanating from the dark mist, even with his mental fortitude honed over 500 years, he couldn't help but be shaken. This kind of tremor was something he had almost never experienced before. Wang Lin's scalp tingled slightly. This voice was very familiar. No matter where you obtained it, you must die today. I am Sichunan. The figure shrouded in black mist finished speaking, moving with incredible speed, rushing into the vicinity of the pagoda, his right hand sweeping towards Wang Lin's head. Wang Lin suppressed the overwhelming fear in his heart, shouting loudly, "Retreat!" Immediately, a wisp of divine consciousness from Zhou Yi's peak-level cultivation emanated from the pagoda. The figure formed from black mist seemed to be struck by a powerful force, stopping abruptly 3 inches before Wang Lin. He let out a defiant roar, his body hurtling outwards. As he rushed out, the black mist gradually dissipated, leaving only a severed arm, which grabbed Liao Fan, who was staring in horror at the scene, and disappeared outside the valley. Wang Lin watched in astonishment as the other person's figure gradually disappeared into the distance, muttering, "Sichunan, impossible. Why is it like this?" His mind was in turmoil. He summoned the featherback with his right hand and wandered back into the valley. Sitting beneath the pagoda, he looked up at the sky. Scenes from when he was with Sichunan flashed through his mind. "Sichunan," he said he was Sichunan from within the pagoda. Chu Aryu poked her small head out. After glancing at Wang Lin, she obediently came out and sat opposite him. In all these years, she had never seen her uncle with such an expression. It was as if he was bewildered, yet also as if he were reminiscing. After a while, Chu Aryu stood up, blinked, and tiptoed to the kitchen. When she came out, she had a large bowl full of food in her hand. "Humph, if uncle won't let me let the immortal sister eat, then I'll quietly leave." She circled around behind Wang Lin, slipped into the pagoda, and immediately let out a cry. Sichunan Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he touched his forehead with his right hand. He instantly transformed into a 7-colored light and disappeared from the spot. Inside the heaven-defying space, the strange luminous objects around him remained unchanged. Not long after, he arrived at Sichunan's nascent soul. Sichunan's enormous nascent soul was beside the souls of his parents, emitting a gentle light, which gradually calmed Wang Lin's emotions. He bowed to the souls of his parents, remained silent for a long time, and then turned his gaze to Sichunan's nascent soul. Sichunan sat cross-legged, his eyes tightly closed, his demeanor still as gloomy as before. Even after a long time, he had only recovered slightly. Wang Lin looked at Sichunan and muttered, "Sichunan's nascent soul is here. So why did that person claim to be Sichunan? Could it be a case of mistaken identity? But if so, how could the other party also use the Yellow Springs ascending aperture technique?" Wang Lin fell silent, a pensive expression on his face. In an instant, his gaze became serious. Sichunan once said that he and several cultivators from outside the Vermilion Bird Star were vying for the heaven-defying pearl, and then his body was shattered and had to be abandoned. His nascent soul entered the heaven-defying pearl to escape death. Wang Lin's eyes brightened, remembering the severed arm from earlier. The black energy emanated from that severed arm. The figure claiming to be Sichunan had also materialized from that severed arm. Could it be that Sichunan's body was taken and refined by someone, thus giving rise to a wisp of divine consciousness? Wang Lin boldly speculated in his heart, but he couldn't be certain. After a long while, he sighed, looked at Sichunan's nascent soul, and said with a bitter smile, "Senior Sichunan, if that really is your severed arm, then I might somewhat believe what you told me before about being the #1 expert of the Vermilion Bird Star." Wang Lin shook his head. He had always been skeptical of Sichunan's words. Moreover, the more he cultivated, the deeper this thought became. The title of #1 expert of the Vermilion Bird Star was already established, Unless the Vermilion Bird Sun acknowledged it back then, Sichuan couldn't possibly be the #1 expert. Furthermore, Sichuan had been in the heaven-defying space for countless years. Even if he was truly the #1 expert back then, after so many years, he probably wouldn't be capable anymore. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin sighed again and left the heaven-defying space. Snow Domain Kingdom. The Ice and Snow Divine Palace was a palace entirely crafted from ice and snow. A seemingly ordinary man sat in a chair. Before him was a dark red tea set. Below him stood two people, a man and a woman. Their hair was pure white, and they stood motionless. The middle-aged man held a bamboo tube on one side, gently pouring out a handful of tea leaves. In his right hand, he held a block of ice placed inside the teapot. He tapped it, and the ice immediately melted, boiling vigorously. A bitter aroma instantly rose from the teapot, filling the entire hall. The middle-aged man picked up the teapot, poured out all the water inside, and then added another block of ice. After urging it to boil, a strange aroma immediately rose, completely dispelling the bitter taste in the great hall. The entire hall was enveloped in a strong fragrance, and even outside the hall, the scent did not dissipate. The flavor of heavenly void rain tea, even if enjoyed every day, would never tire of it. Unfortunately, this tea is so rare. In our Vermilion Bird Kingdom, we only occasionally receive a small amount as a gift. You two are quite lucky. Come and have a sip. The middle-aged man finished speaking, picked up the teapot, and poured out 3 cups. A single pot only yielded 3 cups, leaving little left. The two people below stepped forward, each taking a cup and carefully savoring it. However, the old woman wasn't paying attention. After taking a sip, she stared intently at the middle-aged man and said, "Sect Master, the tea is finished. Please go and kill that Zheng Niu." The middle-aged man felt a pang of regret seeing the old woman waste a cup of tea, and sighed, "That Zheng Niu is just a minor character. If it weren't for the message from Vermilion Bird Mountain forbidding anyone from touching him, someone would have already taken his life. But I didn't expect him to dare to chop off Hong Dai's hand. Hong Dai is the hope of our Snow Region Kingdom. Sect Master, don't forget, the reason you were able to reach the nascent soul stage is thanks to Hong Dai." The old woman raised her head and said. As for the old man beside her, he kept his head down, drinking tea, not uttering a single word. The middle-aged man's gaze gradually turned cold as he stared at the old woman, slowly saying, "I won't forget. But I don't need you to remind me." The old man remained silent for a long time before finally speaking. "I still invite the sect master to take action." The middle-aged man picked up his teacup, took a sip, and said, "This Zheng Niu has a thunder cauldron, to spirit bells, a small flag that can transform into countless forbidden spells, and an indestructible flying sword one. Furthermore, according to the latest information from Liao Fan, this Zheng Niu also possesses the ancient Yellow Springs Dao cultivation method. All of that is secondary. The most important thing is that Zheng Niu has an item in his hand. Although it is just a small flag, it possesses an aura that can destroy everything. One indestructible, unbreakable." The old woman was stunned, her eyes flashing, and she said, "So the sect master has already investigated this person?" The middle-aged man nodded and said, "How could I not pay attention to someone who might be noticed by Vermilion Bird Mountain and challenged to a battle with Hong Dai? The title of Vermilion Bird must belong to Hong Dai. How could I let someone else destroy it? I sent Liao Fan with my magic weapon to investigate him, ultimately to find out the same thing." The old woman bowed respectfully, saying nothing more. "However, now is not the time to kill him. After he fights Hong Dai, regardless of whether he wins or loses, I will personally take action and kill him. Moreover, this person is skilled in escaping. I learned some information from the Giant Demon Tribe. He possesses the Giant Demon Tribe's star compass. With this, once he tears through space and enters the void, unless a late-stage transformation from old monster intervenes, no one will be able to track him down." The middle-aged man took another sip of tea and slowly said, "So, what does the sect master mean?" The old woman raised her eyebrows and looked up, saying, "So, what is the sect master's intention? To kill him, it must be a single successful attempt. If I act, he will certainly escape. Therefore, before I act, I will have to set up a grand formation to prevent him from tearing through space. At the same time, I will invite the giant demon clan to intervene. With two nascent soul stage cultivators, even if this person has extraordinary divine abilities, he will still only be a transformation god stage cultivator. We can be sure of killing him. If I don't act, that's one thing, but once I do, I will definitely succeed. The middle-aged man said calmly. The respectful expression on the old woman's face deepened. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Do you know what his mental state is?" Huh? The old man looked up. According to Hong Dai's information, his mental state is an understanding of reincarnation, the mental state of life and death. Anyone who can comprehend such a mental state, even a mere nascent soul cultivator, cannot be underestimated. The middle-aged man's eyes showed a look of admiration. The old woman remained silent, sighing inwardly. In fact, the reason she so desperately wanted to kill Zheng Niu was because she had cast a divination for Hong Dai years ago. Hong Dai had a calamity. In her heart, this calamity would befall Zheng Niu. Spring passed, autumn arrived. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. Chu Aryu was now 10 years old, becoming even more charming and lovely. However, she was also becoming increasingly wild. She had long lost interest in matters related to the white-robed female corpse in the pagoda. Although she still occasionally remembered it, she no longer went there. The deep mountains were almost everywhere marked by the little girl's footprints. Though young, she possessed remarkable courage. She frequently harassed tigers and other wild beasts. Of course, with her abilities, she couldn't intimidate them. Tai Yin had arrived in this valley 4 years ago. He had reached the final stage of the transformation god realm, but unfortunately, he remained stuck at the Cloud Heaven sect. Therefore, he resolutely gave up everything and followed Wang Lin. With him by her side, little Aryu could become more carefree and play without fear every day. During these 5 years, Wang Lin also consolidated his spiritual power, finally reaching the mid-stage of the transformation god realm. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he could never advance another step. Wang Lin knew his cultivation had reached a bottleneck. If he couldn't break through, his cultivation would remain stagnant for the rest of his life. In these 5 years, the number of people challenging him had dwindled. Zheng Niu's reputation had grown even greater, becoming a topic of enthusiastic discussion among cultivators. One day, the 10-year deadline he had agreed upon with Hong Dai arrived. This was the day he would fight Hong Dai. 6 months prior, cultivators from the Vermilion Bird Kingdom had been sent outside the valley on orders to construct a teleportation array. This array could only be used once. In the blink of an eye, it could traverse the entire Vermilion Bird Star and enter the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Feng Yushan stood respectfully outside the valley. 10 days earlier, he had brought the challenge letter, intending to give it to Wang Lin, fulfilling their 10-year agreement. For these 10 days, Wang Lin constantly wondered whether this war should even happen. For decades, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom had never pursued the events of that year. Wang Lin found this very strange. He analyzed that it was very likely that the Vermilion Bird Kingdom wanted to recruit him as a core disciple, just like Hong Dai back then. That's why this battle took place. This battle was not only witnessed by some long-absent old monsters of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, but was also known throughout the entire Vermilion Bird Star. After all, Hong Dai's reputation was too great. Because of Hong Dai, the alliance of 4 sects was annihilated, and the Snow Domain Kingdom was promoted to the 5th level. Such an event had almost never happened in the history of the Vermilion Bird Star. Therefore, Hong Dai's name was naturally known to the vast majority of cultivators, and Zheng Niu's reputation surpassed Hong Dai's. Suddenly appearing from there, his fame grew even greater. Currently, the battle between the two has naturally become the center of attention for all cultivators on Vermilion Bird Star. Whoever wins will undoubtedly gain immense opportunities. This is something almost everyone knows, so how could Wang Lin not? He knows that the old masters of Vermilion Bird Kingdom haven't intervened because they want to see who will ultimately win. If he had reached the nascent soul stage or the late stage of the god transformation stage, then even if he severed one of Hong Dai's arms, he would hardly escape death. However, he only has the early stage of the god transformation stage. Severing one of Hong Dai's arms would certainly attract the attention of some important figures, hence the decades of delay. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he had a plan in mind. Chu Aryu, riding on a tiger with black stripes, held a willow branch in one hand and the tiger's head in the other, secretly glanced at Wang Lin. The old tiger didn't dare show its might, bowing its head and pacing back and forth in the valley. "Little White, lift your head." "Who are you?" glared. The old tiger immediately let out a low growl and obediently lifted its long head. "Bow my head." The old tiger quickly bowed its head. "Lift my head." "Who are you?" repeated this several times, and after many attempts, the old tiger still obeyed. It had long been accustomed to this kind of life. It only hoped that the little ancestor on its back would be in a good mood, as before, releasing the black bear back into the forest, and also releasing it. It didn't dare resist. It wasn't an ordinary tiger, but a tiger that had cultivated for many years and become a spirit, naturally able to sense the aura emanating from the old man, which terrified it. Conversely, the young man had no aura whatsoever, like an ordinary mortal. But it dared not provoke him. A few days ago, it had witnessed a cultivator far more powerful than the old man treating this young man with great respect. Therefore, with its intelligence, it naturally understood that this person was not to be trifled with. So even though it was being scolded by the little ancestor on its back, it would still follow orders. In truth, it felt somewhat fortunate. It had previously witnessed the pathetic state of the black bear being disciplined by this little ancestor. It had never seen a black bear able to walk upside down on the road, nor had it ever seen a black bear able to eat rice and vegetables with chopsticks. Not to mention the black bear's enormous claws being used to massage someone's back. Every time it thought of this scene, it couldn't help but shiver, and its fear of the little ancestor on its back intensified. It considered itself a noble tiger spirit. It would never do such things. However, bowing and raising its head was still acceptable. Wang Lin sat cross-legged beneath the pagoda, smiling as he looked at the extremely wrong tiger beneath Chu Ryu. This tiger also had over 100 years of cultivation, but compared to cultivators, it was different. Its cultivation was only around the foundation establishment stage. Chu Ryu had once seen it and ordered Tai Yan to capture it, naming it Zibai. Dallas Zheng Niu, the 10-year agreement has arrived. I, Feng, have brought the challenge letter according to the orders of Vermilion Bird Mountain. Outside the valley, Feng Yushan's voice slowly echoed. Wang Lin's gaze shifted from Chu Ryu to the outside of the valley. After a moment, he stood up. Tai Yan. Tai Yan, who was meditating, quickly awoke, immediately stood up, and respectfully approached Wang Lin. I want to go to Vermilion Bird Kingdom. I don't know how long this journey will last, but at most, I will definitely return in 8 years. During these days I'm away, please take care of little Ryu. Wang Lin looked at Chu Ryu and said to Tai Yan. Chu Ryu didn't look at Wang Lin, but her ears twitched slightly and she pouted her small mouth, fiercely scratching the old tiger's head, whispering, naughty uncle, naughty uncle. Each word scratched a tuft of fur off Little White. Although a 10-year-old child doesn't have much strength, even a little bit of fur scratched Little White. After all, it was his forehead, the closest to the bone and flesh. Despite the pain, he didn't dare show his power, only letting out a few low growls to vent his anger. Tai Yan nodded, his expression serious, and after a moment of hesitation said, Benefactor, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom is the #1 country on Vermilion Bird Star, with countless masters. You must be very careful when you go there. 4 years ago, after he abandoned everything to follow Wang Lin, he originally called him Master, but later changed it to Benefactor for convenience. Wang Lin had shown him great kindness in the process of achieving the God transformation realm, so this debt of gratitude was no less than his own life. Wang Lin nodded and said, I will leave the pagoda here, and it will be completely open. Within 100 miles, no one can enter except you and Chu Ryu. While I am away, you must take good care of little Ryu. Benefactor, rest assured, I will definitely ensure the safety of Miss Wanchu Ryu. Tai Yan immediately replied, yes. Wang Lin pondered for a moment, patted his storage bag, and a white light flashed out from within, falling to the ground with a thud, transforming into a thunder toad. After Chu Ryu saw this thunder toad, her eyes immediately lit up, and the tiger's body at her feet went limp, almost crawling to the ground. It clearly sensed the extremely dense demonic aura emanating from the frog in front of it. This aura instantly terrified it. Its fear of the people inside this valley intensified. Even if they made it walk upside down, made it eat with chopsticks, or made it massage the little ancestor's back, it wouldn't dare utter a single word of complaint. "Little Ruer, come here." Wang Lin squatted down and spoke gently. Churu's small mouth curled up, ignoring Wang Lin. But after a moment's thought, she patted the tiger's head, sticking out her tongue at Wang Lin, and said in a clear voice, "Naughty uncle, you went out to play without taking little Ruer." Wang Lin couldn't help but laugh. Over the years, Chu Ryu had become increasingly mischievous, completely different from Li Muan's personality back then. If he hadn't clearly sensed Li Muan's nascent soul inside Churu's body, he might have sometimes wondered if he'd mistaken her for someone else. For the past few years, Chu Ryu had bullied any wild beasts, both inside and outside the forest, that were even slightly powerful. However, she only bullied them, never harming them. On the contrary, sometimes when she encountered injured wild beasts, they would beg Wang Lin to treat them. Sometimes, Wang Lin felt a pang of guilt for not being able to always be by her side, playing with her, allowing her childhood to be filled only with these wild beasts as companions and sources of joy. Was he being too selfish? However, these thoughts only flashed through his mind before Wang Lin dismissed them. He wasn't a carefree person. Leaving Chu Ryu in someone else's house would only increase his worries. Only by keeping her by his side could he ensure she wouldn't encounter anything unexpected. "My dear Ryu, Uncle is going out, and I'll be back in a few days. By then, I'll bring you an even bigger tiger," Wang Lin said with a smile. "A bigger one? Is he even bigger than Zibai?" Chu Ryu, being just a child, became interested upon hearing this and, ignoring Wang Lin, eagerly asked again, "It's bigger than Little White." Wang Lin nodded in affirmation. Chu Ryu tilted her head, thought for a moment, and said, "Okay, then Uncle must return quickly." Wang Lin patted Churu's head, confirming, "I will return soon. While I'm away, Ruer must be obedient and not venture more than 100 miles, understand?" Chu Ryu nodded, obediently saying, "Uncle, you mustn't forget my big tiger." Wang Lin smiled, stood up, and looked at Taiyan, his heart becoming pensive. He didn't distrust Taiyan. After all, many years had passed, and Wang Lin knew his character like the back of his hand. However, Churu's importance to him couldn't be entrusted to him simply by trust. Therefore, he left Lei Washington behind. With Lei Washington around, if anything unusual happened to Taiyan, it would definitely stop him. In reality, Wang Lin was overthinking things. Given Taiyan's temperament, years of cultivation had left him preoccupied with nothing else, only hoping to reach the God transformation realm. Wang Lin had given him hope, so he owed him a great debt of gratitude. Furthermore, he had witnessed Churu's growth from childhood to adulthood. From the moment she was born, Lei Washington had protected her, and over the years, he had developed a deep affection for her. Even without Wang Lin's command, Lei Washington would ensure Churu's safety. Not to mention, Li Muan had repeatedly shown kindness by refining elixirs for him. Wang Lin sent a divine thought to Lei Washington, asking it to protect Churu's safety. Lei Washington sucked in her belly in response, then sat motionless on the ground, basking in the sunlight. As for Lei Washington, Wang Lin believed that there were times when, in this world, beasts were more trustworthy than humans. Besides these, Wang Lin had one last layer of protection, his true self. His true self was deep within the foundation of the pagoda. With his true self there, all dangers could be resolved. This was where he truly felt at ease. However, unless absolutely necessary, he didn't want others to know he had his true self. His true self was his ultimate weapon, more deeply concealed than any other magical artifact. After giving all these instructions, Wang Lin headed out of the valley. Whether a glorious path or a path of death awaited him, he didn't know. However, with 500 years of cultivation, Wang Lin's temperament was unwavering. He was unafraid of honor or disgrace and wouldn't be easily shaken. He would continue on the path of cultivation, forever unchanging. Chu Ryu looked up, watching Wang Lin's figure disappear into the distance, and suddenly scratched at Zibai's fur. Zibai, being very perceptive, immediately ran forward, carrying Chu Ryu to chase after Wang Lin. Wang Lin turned around, and Chu Ryu jumped down from Zibai's back, walked to Wang Lin's side, and softly said, "Uncle, please sit down." Wang Lin smiled, sat down, and gently said, reminding me not to forget the big tiger again. Chu Ryu shook her head, looked at Wang Lin, gently kissed his forehead, and seriously said, "Uncle, you must come back soon. Little Aryu misses you." Wang Lin looked at Chu Aryu in surprise, and after a while nodded, saying, "Uncle will come back soon." After saying that, he took a deep breath, stood up, and left the valley. Chu Aryu looked at Wang Lin's retreating figure and whispered, "Uncle is gone. He won't play with me anymore, Zibai. You must play with me every day, okay?" Little White's body trembled, a silent lament in its heart, letting out a low growl in sorrowful response. Chu Ru's eyes welled up slightly, tears rolling down her cheeks and onto the ground. For 7 years, she and Wang Lin had been almost inseparable, their feelings deeply rooted. The longer the time passed, the warmer she felt. A warmth that was a reluctance to part, a longing. Things in this world often coincide. At this moment, Chu Aryu stood in the exact spot where Li Muwan's tear had fallen all those years ago. That tear, whether it had escaped sorrow and grief, had nonetheless given way to longing and yearning. Little White turned upside down. Chu Aryu wiped away her tears and turned to the tiger. The tiger immediately let out a mournful roar. A month before the battle between Wang Lin and Hong Dai, an extremely significant event occurred in the giant demon clan. An elder of the clan, having absorbed the immortal jade brought back by Chihu, successfully broke through to the transformation god stage, becoming the first transformation stage cultivator of the giant demon clan on the Vermilion Bird Star. The history of the demon clan was redrawn with powerful strokes. From now on, the giant demon clan would no longer be a 4th-tier cultivation nation, but a 5th-tier one. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom attached great importance to this, and a peak-level cultivator, disregarding worldly affairs, personally received the transformation stage elder of the giant demon clan. In fact, for many years there had been rumors that the demon clan had a transformation stage cultivator, but this had not been confirmed. However, this speculation was quite credible. After all, the young clan leader Chi, who had brought back a large quantity of immortal jade upon his return from his trip to the immortal realm. At this moment, the rumor was finally confirmed when the giant demon clan elder, with his nascent soul stage cultivation, personally proposed that the giant demon clan be promoted to a 5th-level cultivation nation. The giant demon clan members were not originally from the Vermilion Bird Star, but had migrated from another planet countless years ago. They were truly powerful, not necessarily cunning. Back then, Chihu, who was only at the mid-stage of the transformation god realm, could fight against a late-stage transformation god cultivator. This clearly demonstrated their innate divine abilities. The giant demon clan possessed extraordinary talent, and reaching the nascent soul stage meant a qualitative transformation. This was evident from the Vermilion Bird Kingdom sending a peak stage cultivator to personally participate in the giant demon clan's key promotion efforts. It's worth noting that to elevate a cultivation nation to a higher level, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom typically only sent a late-stage nascent soul cultivator to preside over the process. The giant clan's advancement in rank is like a drop of ink. This drop of ink is in water, initially showing no significant change, but gradually spreading over time. All of this has no connection to Wang Lin's current state. He emerged from the mountain pass with Feng Yushan and the others, entering the formation. In an instant, he turned his head to glance back at the valley, his figure slowly disappearing. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom is located on a large continent on Vermilion Bird Star, known as the Vermilion Bird Continent. The Vermilion Bird Continent has only for cultivation nations. Besides the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, the other 3 are all level 5. Moreover, these are the 3 strongest level 5 cultivation nations on the entire Vermilion Bird Star. The 3 nations are the Azure Dragon, the Heavenly Illusion, and the Pailuo. In the center of the Vermilion Bird Continent, occupying a large area half the land, is the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Within the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, even ordinary mortals hold a higher status compared to mortals in other cultivation kingdoms. This is because they are citizens of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom has 3 sects. These 3 sects are the Heavenly Jade Sect, the Earthly Soul Sect, and the Human Tao Immortal Sect. Each of these 3 sects has a peak-level expert presiding over it. Only Vermilion Bird Mountain possesses a top-tier expert in the late peak level. Together, they form the most powerful force on Vermilion Bird Star. Naturally, countless cultivation families have emerged from these 3 sects, their existence dependent on the sects, forming a dense network and providing a plentiful supply of disciples for these 3 sects. At this moment, On the altar of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, a column of light descended from the sky, slowly dissipating and spreading its spiritual power in all directions. In the back mountains of the Heavenly Jade Sect, on a lotus pond, Hong Dai, who was meditating, suddenly opened her eyes wide. Her gaze fixed on the distant direction, the very source of the spiritual power emanating from the column of light. A cold glint appeared in Hong Deep's eyes as she lowered her voice and said, "He's arrived." Above the altar, Wang Lin's figure gradually appeared. Behind him, Feng Yushan breathed a sigh of relief. Since Wang Lin had arrived, his mission was considered complete, and he could return to Jukyu Mountain to report. On the altar, besides Wang Lin and Feng Yushan, there was another person. This person wore a long purple dress with a black embroidered lily at the hem and a blue silk robe, highlighting her graceful and beautiful appearance. Her calm eyes gave off an air of elegance, her nose was high, and her thin lips were a rosy red. She stood silently, her gaze fixed on Wang Lin. "Greetings, third senior sister," Feng Yushan said respectfully upon seeing the girl. The girl frowned slightly as she looked at Wang Lin and said softly, "Is this Taoist Zhang Niu?" Wang Lin looked at the girl, his expression unchanged by her exquisite beauty, and bowed, saying, "I am Zhang Niu, Taoist Zhang. I am a disciple of the human Tao immortal. My name is Bai Mingshu." The girl smiled, her skin as white as snow, her long black hair 3 feet long, 2 strands falling down her chest, the rest styled on top, giving her an elegant yet refined appearance. "My master instructed me to wait here to welcome you." Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, glancing at the girl before saying, "Human Tao immortal." Bai Mingshu nodded slightly and said, "The battle between Taoist Zhang and Hong Dai is scheduled for half a month from now at Juk Mountain. Given the special circumstances at that time, envoys from various cultivation nations will come to observe the battle. Therefore, we, the human Tao sect, are here first to take charge of making arrangements for our fellow practitioners." Wang Lin pondered for a moment, then nodded. Bai Zhu smiled, her body moved slightly, and she immediately flew down from the altar. A stream of white light flew from afar, silently stopping beneath Bai Zhu's feet, lifting her into the air. It was a snow-white immortal crane. Wang Lin lightly tapped his foot and landed on top of the immortal crane. The crane let out a cry, its figure transforming into an arc as it flew away into the distance. Sun Yushan glanced enviously at the immortal crane before flying down from the altar himself, heading towards Jukyu Mountain. Bai Zhu stood on the immortal crane, occasionally looking towards Wang Lin. In recent years, Zhang Niu's reputation had grown greatly. Now that she had seen him in person, Bai Zhu couldn't help but feel a little disappointed and disheartened. She had originally thought Zhang Niu was a person of extraordinary talent, but today he seemed utterly ordinary. "Zhang Taoist, how confident are you in the battle against Han Dai?" The two were silent for a long time. Then Bai Zhu softly asked, "I'm not entirely sure." Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from observing the landscape of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom below, shaking his head in response. Bai Zhu was taken aback, then immediately smiled and said, "Taoist Zhang, there's no need to be modest." Wang Lin ignored the girl and continued to look down at the ground below, memorizing the topographical features. The jade slip map in his hand only had a simple description of the Vermilion Bird continent, not a detailed description. Wang Lin thought to himself, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom was indeed preparing to recruit him as a core disciple, but he had to maintain his vigilance. "Taoist Bai Zhu, what's special about the Vermilion Bird Kingdom?" Wang Lin pondered for a moment before asking. Bai Zhu's voice was soft and pleasant, and she explained everything in detail. Wang Lin gained a little more understanding of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. "Hong Dai, who participated in the battle with you, is a disciple of the Heavenly Jade Sect." After speaking, Bai Zhu sighed softly, then glanced at Zhang Niu again. Previously, her master had mentioned that the Vermilion Bird Mountain would arrange for this person to join their sect later. Wang Lin's gaze was calm, and he said nothing. The immortal crane's speed wasn't fast, but steady. Along the way, Wang Lin secretly noted down every mountain range they passed through. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom's spiritual energy was extremely abundant, a point unmatched by any other cultivation kingdom. For example, regarding spiritual veins, Wang Lin had seen no fewer than 10 along the way. It was precisely because of the existence of these spiritual veins that the Vermilion Bird Kingdom was so rich in spiritual energy. As they flew through the sky, Wang Lin's gaze suddenly fixed on a distant point, a towering mountain shrouded in clouds. its mist swirling like a celestial mountain. The immortal cranes beneath them were not flying towards this mountain, but in another direction. Although Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, his heart was slightly stirred. This is the Heavenly Jade Sect's mountain gate. It's protected by a formation, so we can't see what's inside, Bai Zhu said softly. Just then, a figure in pink descended from the top of the celestial mountain, stepping on a white cloud and looking towards them from afar. Wang Lin's eyes coldly stared at the pink figure, remaining silent. Only when the immortal cranes flew further and further away did the pink figure gradually disappear from sight. Han Dai stood outside the Heavenly Jade Sect, watching Wang Lin slowly depart. Her face grew even colder, her eyes flashing with icy coldness. A biting cold wind blew through, and on her right arm, a sleeve fluttered in the wind, giving off a deathly aura. He's finally here. Han Dai turned and headed towards the Heavenly Jade Sect, disappearing from sight. Wang Lin stood atop the immortal crane, his icy gaze sweeping over Bai Zhu, who maintained a calm expression. This girl's choice of path likely indicated she harbored ulterior motives. Soon after, the immortal crane flew to a long mountain range resembling a dragon. The crane pierced through swirling clouds and mist, flying deeper into the valley. In the distance, a vast valley appeared before Wang Lin's eyes. The valley was immense, filled with countless beautiful houses and pavilions. Upon arrival, Bai Zhu's body stirred slightly, and she dismounted. Wang Lin immediately descended. Descending to the ground, Bai Zhu turned around and lowered her voice, saying, Dallas Zhang Niu, this is not the sect of our human Dao immortals, but the immortal residence of our esteemed master. He is currently in cultivation. You can choose any of the 3 rows of rooms on the north side to stay in. He will meet you when he finishes his cultivation. After saying this, she bowed to Wang Lin, turned around, and disappeared into the rooms. Wang Lin knew that this was within the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, and his divine consciousness couldn't be freely extended, otherwise it would cause unnecessary trouble. After hearing Bai Zhu's words, he headed north. Along the way, he encountered several servants, all with expressionless faces, who didn't even glance at Wang Lin as they hurried past. Soon after, Wang Lin arrived at the northern area and saw 3 rows of extremely luxurious rooms. He chose one and entered. The room was fully furnished. Wang Lin sat cross-legged on the bed, his thoughts drifting. Since entering the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, he had a premonition of danger. This feeling, though vague, persisted. Wang Lin knew that with his cultivation level, there were many people in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom who could kill him. Any nascent soul cultivator could send him to his death. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom's attitude towards him was also somewhat strange. He hadn't expected anyone to come to greet him beforehand. This meant that Bai Zhu's master would also summon him. After a moment of contemplation, Wang Lin closed his eyes and began to meditate. As dusk fell, the outside was somewhat gloomy, and the dim light inside the room gradually deepened as time passed. In the darkness, Wang Lin suddenly felt a sense of loneliness. He looked around the unfamiliar room and unfamiliar sect. An unfamiliar Vermilion Bird Kingdom man found no sense of belonging. Wang Lin sighed softly, intending to light a candle, when he suddenly looked towards the door. A soft knock echoed in the darkness. Knock, 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 come in, Wang Lin said in a low voice. Without a sound, the door opened, and a young servant in a short linen robe entered. He carried a tray with some fruit on it. After entering, he didn't even glance at Wang Lin, placing the tray on the table before turning to leave. Wait a moment, Wang Lin said. The young servant stopped, turning to look at Wang Lin. Although the room was dim, Wang Lin's eyesight was sharp enough to see clearly. He observed the young servant's appearance. This person was not old, only 13 or 14 years old, with a pale complexion and delicate features. Before Wang Lin could ask a question, the young male servant opened his mouth and pointed, revealing only half of his tongue. Wang Lin was stunned and speechless. The young male servant smiled kindly at Wang Lin, then turned and left, gently closing the door. For some reason, Wang Lin felt a sense of gloom towards this building. Looking at the tray of fruit, Wang Lin silently closed his eyes and continued to meditate. His right hand was always placed on his storage bag, ready to react at any moment if danger arose. Time passed slowly, and 3 days went by in the blink of an eye. During these 3 days, except for the young male servant, Wang Lin did not see anyone else. The next morning, he went out for a walk. Along the way, he saw that all the servants had only half of their tongues and could not speak. Furthermore, many locations here are protected by powerful restrictions. Wang Lin couldn't break these restrictions in a short time. This place exuded a strange aura. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin didn't dare to investigate further, instead adopting a strategy of adapting to changing circumstances, always sitting in meditation in his room, maintaining his peak state and readiness to face the battle with Hong Dai. 10 days passed, and one day, while meditating, Wang Lin suddenly felt himself being watched. Quickly opening his eyes, he saw a middle-aged man sitting in a chair in the room, holding a teapot and pouring tea into a cup, looking towards Wang Lin. This man's appearance exuded majesty. His face was unkempt and his beard lacked grooming, but his eyes were bright, seemingly filled with swirling mist. He sat there silently, yet radiated an air of authority. Wang Lin's gaze remained calm, unaffected by the man's ability to enter the room so easily without him noticing. In this vermilion bird kingdom, most cultivators possess profound cultivation levels. Wang Lin is not a novice who has just entered the immortal realm, so he is not easily intimidated. The middle-aged man took a sip of tea, his right index finger gently tapping the table, without saying a word. Wang Lin also remained silent. A somewhat eerie silence descended upon the room, an invisible pressure slowly emanating from the middle-aged man's light tapping. If Wang Lin hadn't spent a long time in the nascent soul stage, he certainly wouldn't have been able to withstand this pressure. Even at the early nascent soul stage, when he first entered the immortal realm, it would have been difficult to endure. But currently, Wang Lin was very calm. After a long while, the middle-aged man stood up without even glancing at Wang Lin and turned to leave the room. From beginning to end, he didn't utter a single word. After he left, Wang Lin stood up and walked to the table in front of him. He saw 2 words written on the table: defeat, death. Wang Lin remained silent, then flicked his right hand across the table, causing the words written in water to disappear. He looked out the dark window, his eyes blinking. The middle-aged man he had just seen certainly had a nascent soul stage cultivation and was likely Bai Zu's master. The 2 words he left behind clearly indicated that if he lost the battle against Hong Dai, he would only face death. Wang Lin took a deep breath, sat down, and continued to meditate with his eyes closed. A few days later, the day of the great battle arrived. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom had set up a huge altar, and the envoys from various cultivation nations were all eagerly awaiting this great battle. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom had already announced the battle between Wang Lin and Hong Dai 10 years ago, attracting the attention of the vast majority of cultivators. The battle between the two, though both only at the nascent soul stage, revealed a vast difference in their status. Hong Dai, the prodigy of the Snow Region Kingdom, was considered the most talented individual within the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, reaching the late nascent soul stage within 100 years, and was one of the most likely to reach the peak stage. Zheng Niu, of unknown origin and relatively unknown, had also reached the peak of immortal cultivation, entered the immortal realm, and even severed one of Hong Dai's arms, thus gaining notoriety. If that were all, it wouldn't have drawn much attention. But Zheng Niu, upon entering the immortal realm, only had the early nascent soul stage cultivation. To fight against a late nascent soul cultivator at the early nascent soul stage, and to even sever an arm, naturally made him a legend. The battle between the two immediately drew widespread attention. Above the altar, Hong Dai stood silently to the right. She wore a pale blue dress, the color of the sea, with a simple, rustic purple pattern embroidered on the cuffs. Her jet black hair was tied back with a delicate blue ribbon, her figure slender and unadorned. Her youthful, ethereal beauty was evident, yet it couldn't conceal her fragrant, fair, jade-like face. However, when a gentle breeze blew, her sleeves fluttered behind her, giving the viewer the impression that Hong Deep was a painting with a slight blemish. Hong Deep's beauty matched her natural charm, revealing an air of arrogance and a hint of ruthlessness. Midway up in the air outside the altar, a silver ring of bamboo chairs was arranged, seated upon which sat several people, men and women, old and young, all messengers. From a distance, the number of people, though not 100, was roughly equal. Everyone was silent, without a sound or commotion. These people were seated outside the halo of light, and at the very center of the halo were only 4 bamboo chairs, each occupied by a group of elderly men with white hair. At this moment, a crane slowly flew in from afar. A young man in white stood upon it. He was tall and imposing, his hair tied back with purple silk, his appearance ordinary but possessing an indescribable aura. Beside him was a girl in purple, whose beauty was no less than that of Hong Gai. The immortal crane circled above the altar, letting out a cry. The young man in white leapt down from the crane's back and landed on the altar. He was indeed Wang Lin. Hong Dai glanced down at her empty right sleeve, her eyes flashing with coldness and deep hatred. She was a favored daughter of heaven. Before meeting Wang Lin, those of her generation who had encountered her had often been defeated. Wang Lin was the first to defeat her and the first to cripple her arm. If Wang Lin had defeated her fairly and squarely, her hatred, though intense, wouldn't have been so fervent. But that year, Wang Lin took advantage of her weakest moment to cripple her arm. And not only that, he also wanted to destroy her Dao heart. For so many years, her cultivation hasn't progressed even a single step. All of this is blamed on Wang Lin. Only by killing him can she restore her Dao heart. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, his eyes calm as he stood on the altar looking towards Hong Dai. A white-haired old man among the group seated on the 4 large brocade-covered chairs, his icy gaze sweeping over Wang Lin and Hong Dai, spoke, "I am Elder Gongsun Po of Vermilion Bird Mountain, the referee for your battle." He made a hand gesture, pointing into the void. Immediately, a door of light appeared above the altar where Wang Lin and Hong Dai were seated. "Go in, that's your battlefield," the old man said, then closed his eyes and said nothing more. Hong Dai didn't say a word. Her body moved slightly, and she disappeared through the light door. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he carefully glanced at the light door and stepped inside. As soon as they both entered, the light door instantly grew enormous, enveloping the entire altar, revealing a desolate, remote mountain region. From the outside, everything inside could be seen through this light door. Upon entering, Wang Lin immediately discovered a teleportation array behind it. What lay before him was a desolate, remote mountain region. The surroundings were silent, the sky dim and devoid of light, and a suffocating atmosphere enveloped the horizon. A massive ancient tree stretched out in all directions. 10 yards away, there was a huge python with pink stripes, its body coiled around a tree branch, its head swaying, its icy eyes staring at Wang Lin. "Tang Yu!" A low shout came from above. Wang Lin's body moved, soaring into the air, a crimson light rushing forward at incredible speed. Before he even arrived, a wave of icy cold air immediately spread out. This cold air transformed into a thumb-sized sphere, rapidly changing shape, and 10 meters in front of Wang Lin, it condensed into a gigantic ice figure. This giant, over 10 meters tall, with an expressionless face, raised its large fist and swung it towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he retreated. A crimson light flashed above the giant's head, and Hong Dai appeared. Her eyes showed a coldness as she stared at Wang Lin, and with a breath from her mouth, a dazzling light shot out, transforming into a snow-white rose that landed in front of Hong Dai. She resolved not to engage in a prolonged battle with Zheng Niu, but to achieve a swift and decisive victory, killing him as quickly as possible. Following the snow giant's punch, Hong Dai's left hand gently plucked a piece of rose petal and tossed it forward. Immediately, the petals floated like a boat on the sea, swaying and bobbing as they flew forward. Wang Lin snorted softly, his right arm flicking, and the Forbidden's banner appeared. He waved the Forbidden's banner, and the Forbidden's energy instantly transformed into a series of intertwined evil dragons, forming a large black fist that slammed directly into the snow giant's fist. A deafening explosion resounded. The ancient trees below instantly crumbled, and even the giant serpent was shaken and fell, its body writhing and twisting on the ground, covered in blood from the numerous wounds inflicted by the shock. 2 extremely powerful forces collided, causing the ice giant to instantly recoil a step. Cracks appeared on his fist, and chunks of ice fell from above like swirling snowflakes. Wang Lin's hand trembled, and the Forbidden's artifact transformed into a fist immediately collapsed. A tremendous force surged into the Forbidden's banner, and with several cracking sounds, tears appeared on the banner. This is a magical artifact of our Snow Domain Kingdom, crafted over 500 years, the Ice God. "Zheng Niu, you will surely die today, without a doubt." Hong Dai's eyes flashed coldly, and with a flick of her arm in the void, the dancing rose petals instantly transformed. From the petals floating in the air, fine threads appeared. These threads woven into a large net, suddenly encircling Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he threw away the Forbidden's banner in his hand. Immediately, a black screen appeared around him. At the same time, he patted his storage bag with his right hand, and the immortal sword in his hand immediately slashed forward fiercely. Instantly, the sword light pierced through the black screen and struck the petal. A crack appeared on the petal, but it didn't shatter. Countless threads emerged from the petal, covering the sky and earth, and descended towards Wang Lin. Hong Dai's eyes flashed with cold light, and she took out another petal and threw it forward. At the same time, she formed a hand seal with her left hand and pointed her jade finger. Immediately, this petal grew larger, suddenly flying rapidly into the air, towards Wang Lin. Hong Dai didn't retract her hand but plucked another petal. This time, she bit her tongue and spat a mouthful of fresh blood onto the petal. Immediately, the bloodstain on the petal flashed, transforming into 9 red long swords. 9 swords, each emitting a flash of light from the petals, furiously attacked Wang Lin. 3 petals at once. Let's see if you'll die. Hong Dai patted the giant ice creature's body. He immediately roared, stomping forward, his right hand conjuring gusts of wind, following closely behind the flying swords as he attacked Wang Lin. Each stomp left a deep crater in the ground. Countless large trees were broken, the earth shook violently, and numerous large cracks appeared everywhere. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He had fought many battles in his life, but this one was extremely perilous. He wouldn't use the beast taming scroll on his wrist unless absolutely necessary. After all, this was the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, and he believed that many people would be watching the battle between him and Hong Dai. Revealing too much would be detrimental to himself. Facing the crimson threads that covered the sky and earth, Wang Lin let out a loud roar, his immortal sword slashing wildly forward. Each sword light struck the crimson threads, finally tearing a gap. Wang Lin stomped his foot and instantly escaped through the gap. At the same time, he opened his mouth and spat out a stream of black gas, which transformed into a large seal that slammed down towards the giant flower petal. The black seal trembled, and the petal immediately enveloped it. After a moment, the seal disappeared, turning into a small puddle of black water that dripped down. Wang Lin's face turned pale. In the instant the black seal blocked the petal, his body flashed, appearing 100 feet away. At this moment, 9 red long swords silently approached with lightning speed. Wang Lin immediately potted his storage bag, and 2 belts flew out, colliding with each other and emitting a wave of sound. The 9 long swords were slightly slowed by the sound waves, but immediately sped forward again. Meanwhile, the 2 shattered bells instantly enveloped Wang Lin, forming a battle armor. Wang Lin let out a loud shout, his body flashing. This time, he flew towards Hong Dai. However, as soon as he appeared, the giant ice figure beneath Hong Dai clenched its fist and unleashed a powerful punch. This punch was many times faster than before, almost instantaneously striking Wang Lin. Wang Lin was immediately thrown backward, impaled by the 9 long swords. Immediately afterward, the giant petals in the air instantly enveloped Wang Lin, leaving no gap. Hong Dai's eyes flashed with killing intent as she shouted, "Zhang Niu, die!" She formed a hand seal with her left hand and pointed downwards. From within the petals enveloping Wang Lin, several banging sounds erupted. But at this moment, a sudden surge of black energy erupted from within, causing the petals enveloping Wang Lin to tremble. Hong Dai's face changed color, and a powerful sword light, capable of splitting heaven and earth, flashed wildly from within. The petals were severed in 2. Wang Lin slowly emerged from within. The silk ribbon binding his hair was broken, his black hair fluttering in the windless air. His eyes flashed with overwhelming coldness, staring at Hong Dai as if she were already dead. His spirit-infused battle armor was shattered in many places. Behind him, the 9 red long swords were also completely broken. Hong Dai, the battle has only just begun. The previous moments were merely a warm-up, Wang Lin said in a low, slow voice. Hong Dai stared at Wang Lin, her left hand still holding 6 rose petals, ready to unleash her attack. Hong Dai, look at this. What is this? Wang Lin's lips curved into a sinister smile, holding an object in his hand. The object looked like a cocoon-shaped stone with a cluster of Taoist symbols flashing on its surface. Wang Lin struck it with his right hand, and the symbols on its surface immediately shone brightly. Hong Dai's face instantly turned pale, and a dark aura appeared between her eyebrows. She coldly said, "Zhang Niu, what is that? Just an arm." Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. He struck it again with his right hand, and the stone cocoon shattered. A pile of rubble fell, revealing a pitch black, extremely withered arm inside. Holding the broken arm in his hand, Wang Lin looked at Hong Dai and smiled sinisterly. Hong Dai, does this arm look familiar to you? Hong Dai trembled, staring intently at the arm. Then she glared intensely at Wang Lin, the coldness in her eyes reaching its peak. Tang Niu, you despicable wretch! Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He laughed heartily, then immediately said in a somber tone, I'm despicable. That day in the immortal realm, I had no enmity with you, nor did I provoke you. Yet you repeatedly led me to my death. To this day, I still don't know why. You killed me like this, and I couldn't resist. Hong Dai's face darkened. She said nothing, and with a touch of her delicate hand, she pointed at the rose. Immediately, all 6 petals on the rose separated. Wang Lin snorted softly, and without hesitation, patted his storage bag and took out a black flag. This was a forbidden banner, only lacking one more restriction to summon the heavenly tribulation. He gently moved his left hand in front of his body, and immediately a restriction appeared. Suddenly, the forbidden banner trembled, and a dazzling aura surged from it. Hong Deep's expression changed. Her delicate hands quickly formed a hand seal, and she uttered several complex and incomprehensible incantations. Immediately, the 6 petals flew away rapidly and with a banging sound transformed into 6 women dressed in red. But from within this forbidden banner, a powerful force surged forth, spreading in all directions. Wang Lin's body was involuntarily pushed away. He released his grip, letting the forbidden banner blow away in midair. The 6 women transformed from flower petals were also stopped, unable to advance. At this moment, a continuous rumbling sound suddenly came from the sky. Immediately afterward, a thick red cloud descended like the sky falling. At this moment, everyone watching the battle outside was instantly shocked. The 4 white-haired old men immediately opened their eyes, staring almost without blinking at the red cloud in the sky. Heavenly tribulation! Gongsun Po's eyes suddenly flashed. 6 elements unification. Hong Dai's face changed drastically. She immediately waved her hand, and the 6 women in red quickly flew towards her, merging into her body. Immediately, 6 shimmering red phantoms appeared behind Hong Dai. At this moment, the red clouds in the sky grew increasingly dense. Wang Lin's lips curled into a cold smile, and he pointed his right hand at the forbidden banner. Immediately, the forbidden banner trembled, transforming into streams of forbidden energy that shot towards Hong Dai. Just then, a loud bang echoed in the air. A furious red lightning bolt condensed in the red clouds and struck down. Its target was the streams of forbidden energy. Hong Dai stomped her foot and immediately retreated. But Wang Lin had already observed Hong Dai. The moment she retreated, he moved his body slightly, and with a flash of his immortal sword, a beam of sword light shot out. However, this beam of sword light was not aimed at Hong Dai, but instead cut through the ground and collided with the roaring red lightning bolt. A loud bang resounded, the sword light vanished, and the lightning bolt paused briefly before continuing its descent. Then Wang Lin shouted again, "Forbidden banner, disperse!" Immediately, the forbidden banner shook, and even more forbidden energy flew out. Finally, the forbidden banner turned into dust and disappeared. But the powerful forbidden energy that shot out almost instantly chased after Hong Dai. Unable to advance in any direction, she had no choice but to enter the body of the giant ice and snow creature. Although she couldn't inflict damage on the heavenly tribulation, she could draw it in. The giant immediately stomped his foot and walked. With each step, the forbidden energy entered his body and was instantly dispersed. But there was still a lot of forbidden energy, unafraid, and it continued to surge forward. Hong Dai was about to transform, but her face immediately showed difficulty. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. At this moment, a red lightning bolt roared down. The forbidden artifact collided with the lightning bolt and instantly dissipated. The lightning bolt furiously bombarded Hong Dai inside the forbidden artifact. All of this would take a long time to describe, but in reality, it happened in the blink of an eye. Hong Dai's face turned pale, and she gritted her teeth. After the lightning bolt struck, 6 illusory figures behind her immediately flew out. Explode! A red illusory figure instantly collided with the lightning bolt and exploded. But obviously, it couldn't stop the heavenly tribulation from descending. Explode, explode, Hong Dai screamed repeatedly. Boom, 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 the heavenly tribulation lightning bolts were like splitting bamboo. One illusory figure exploded, then another. In an instant, all 6 illusory figures exploded. However, the power of the lightning bolts was slightly diminished after a series of explosions. Without a word, Hong Deep stomped her foot, and instantly, her entire body, which had been merging into the giant ice creature's body, vanished. The heavenly tribulation struck, bombarding the giant ice creature's body. The giant violently raised its head, letting out a painful scream, and numerous cracks immediately appeared on its body. Inside its body, a red thread quickly burrowed in. It wasn't attacking the giant, but rather heading towards the forbidden artifact within its body. Meanwhile, surprisingly, a phantom image of a flexible whip appeared inside its body, occasionally flashing. Each time it flashed, the heavenly tribulation thread weakened slightly. What a pity, Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he threw the immortal sword in his hand forward, shouting loudly, controlling the sword to slash down. A huge beam of sword light instantly flashed, striking the giant's body. Kenji Immortal, the giant opened its mouth wide, letting out a roar. This voice was Hongdeep's. At that moment, the soft whip within the giant's body suddenly flashed violently, flying out from the giant's chest and striking towards Wang Lin. Fast! Too fast! Wang Lin couldn't dodge in time, immediately spitting out fresh blood, his body falling to the ground. But his primordial spirit was pulled out of his body, flung far away. At this moment, the sword light had already struck the giant. His body trembled violently, his breath weak, and a large, arm-shaped wound appeared on his side, piercing through his body. The speed of the soft whip was too fast. Wang Lin had almost no chance to dodge, and his primordial spirit was blown backward. Extremely terrified, he immediately felt a sharp pain radiating from all over his primordial spirit. This pain was tearing at his flesh and skin, a sign that his primordial spirit had been damaged. Without hesitation, he clasped his hands together, his spiritual power spreading out. His primordial spirit immediately stopped, then quickly moved forward, burrowing into his body. Wang Lin opened his eyes, his right foot touching the ground, his body like a shooting star flying at 100 meters, his eyes showing a look of terror. He was truly bewildered by the giant's attack just now. What kind of soft whip is that? Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he stared at the giant 100 meters away. Fortunately, Wang Lin's sword light had already struck the giant's hip. Moreover, under the effect of the heavenly tribulation threads, the giant couldn't take advantage of Wang Lin's primordial spirit being blown out to launch a full-force attack. Otherwise, it would have been extremely dangerous. The sword light paused on the giant's hip for a moment, and the heavenly tribulation threads within the giant's body destroyed the last remaining forbidden artifact, then suddenly dissipated. The red clouds in the sky came and went just as quickly. In the blink of an eye, the sky returned to its previous gloomy state, as if the red clouds had never appeared. The giant's body, covered in cracks, instantly shattered, pieces falling to the ground. His massive body shrank by half, now only 5 jung tall. The wound on his hip quickly closed, almost instantly disappearing. A strange, eerie light flashed from the flexible whip on his chest. Wang Lin said nothing, turning and fleeing. That flexible whip was so bizarre that anyone who got too close would have their soul blown out, their body destroyed. Even if they ultimately won, it would be tantamount to defeat. Zheng Niu, let's see what other skills you have. Hang Dai's face appeared on the giant's forehead. She gritted her teeth and shrieked. The ice giant, now half its size, became even more agile than before. Stomping its feet on the ground, this colossal figure tore through the earth and charged forward. Amidst the rumbling, cracks instantly appeared on the ground. It pursued Wang Lin, who swiftly flew away. This battlefield was truly vast. He soared through it without realizing its boundaries. He potted his storage bag, took out some elixirs, and consumed them, adjusting his internal energy as he flew. He ignored the giant's roaring cries behind him. Hang Dai's face was icy cold. She hated the fleeing figure in front of her to the core. If it weren't for the giant ice creature, she would have surely perished. This Zheng Niu unexpectedly possesses a magical artifact capable of summoning heavenly tribulation. However, I don't believe he still has such an artifact. Otherwise, if just to heavenly tribulations had descended, even the giant ice creature with the Kanji immortal wouldn't have been able to withstand it. Hong Dai's eyes flickered with a sinister glint. Immediately, the illusory image of the flexible whip in the giant's chest flashed, quickly taking shape in his hand. Wang Lin, prepare to die, Hong Dai whispered. The flexible whip in the giant's hand instantly shot out 3 times faster than lightning, striking in an instant. Wang Lin's face changed color. Although the whip was fast, Wang Lin was still secretly on guard. While the whip swung rapidly, he quickly vanished from his spot. When he reappeared, he was already 100 miles away. Wang Lin spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Just now, when he vanished, the whip had slightly touched him. This time, although it didn't extract his primordial spirit, it still injured him. This whip is truly powerful. Wang Lin took a deep breath and continued to flee. Without hesitation, he took out a large handful of spiritual herbs and swallowed them, trying to restore his spiritual power. Hong Dai's eyes flashed with cold light as she controlled the giant to relentlessly pursue him. Tang Niu, you're like a dog in mourning now. Where has your former prestige gone? Hong Dai sneered coldly during the pursuit. Wang Lin laughed heartily, saying, Hong Dai, the poison that severed your arm hasn't been neutralized yet. I'm only using my spiritual power to suppress it. Hong Dai's face darkened, and she snorted softly. She and Wang Lin had met several times before, and she had never managed to outdo him in a single argument. Therefore, she said nothing more, instead controlling the giant to whip its whip into the air, creating ripples and waves. After a moment, Wang Lin's spiritual power recovered. His eyes flashed, and he took out an object Hong Dai's severed arm. He muttered something under his breath, his left hand forming a hand seal and pointing at the arm. Immediately, the entire arm emitted strange, demonic energy, and numerous incantation symbols appeared on its surface. Explode! Wang Lin's left hand slapped the other arm, shouting. Immediately, a black light flashed between Hong Dai's eyebrows as she pursued from behind. Hong Dai's body trembled, her face turned even paler, and she shrieked, Zheng Niu, I can't kill you. I'm not Hong Dai. Suppress it. Let's see how far you can suppress it. Explode, 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 Wang Lin sneered, shouting loudly. Immediately, the black light between Hong Dai's eyebrows spread. In an instant, this black light pierced through Hong Dai's beautiful face. Hong Dai spat out a mouthful of black blood. She was indeed very wary of the spell on the severed arm. Therefore, when she attacked earlier, she had always been determined to fight quickly and decisively. Unfortunately, these calculations failed. Unexpectedly, the battle between the two did not unfold as Hong Dai had imagined. A flash of lightning, followed by a loud shout, explode. Instantly, the severed arm in his hand exploded with a loud bang. The exploding arm released no blood, only turning into a cloud of black dust that scattered in all directions. The explosion of the severed arm ignited all the spells within Hong Dai's body. Hong Dai spat out a large mouthful of black blood, her face shrouded in thick black mist. Wang Lin paused for a moment, not fleeing, but seizing the opportunity to throw the beast-taming scroll in his right hand. Immediately, the scroll transformed into a blur, and with a bang, it became a chariot. The beast souls on top roared, their red eyes staring at Wang Lin and the giant. At this moment, Wang Lin couldn't worry about being exposed anymore. Victory was paramount. The chariot, once it appeared, needed time to activate. Wang Lin's body moved slightly, his right hand gripping the immortal sword, and in an instant, he slashed forward. A furious sword light shot out, accompanied by a howling sound that tore through the air, instantly striking the giant ice figure. Boom! The giant retreated several meters, a sword wound appearing on its chest. Hong Dai closed her eyes, fully suppressing the spell. Wang Lin's body flashed forward. Another slash, the sword light flashing out in an instant. Boom! After a loud bang, the giant's body retreated again. Hong Dai, now struggling to open her eyes, glared viciously at Wang Lin, softly chanting an incantation. Immediately, the giant's eyes glowed with a dark light. Hong Dai no longer controlled the giant, but instead focused all her strength on suppressing the dark energy. The giant immediately moved, raising his hand, and a phantom image of a flexible whip appeared. Wang Lin, without hesitation, immediately raised his sword to block. But with a loud bang, Wang Lin's body retreated more than 10 meters. Although the immortal sword was undamaged, Wang Lin's body endured a tremendous force, causing him to immediately spit out fresh blood. At this moment, the giant stomped his foot and suddenly leapt from the air towards Wang Lin. He roared, raising his fist, a shimmering image of a flexible whip flashing within it. Wang Lin's expression turned ferocious. The immortal sword in his right hand instantly swung out, transforming into a rainbow, attacking in an instant. Just as the giant's fist was about to strike his body, the immortal sword flashed, sweeping across the giant's right arm. The giant immediately let out a loud scream. His entire right arm was severed from his body. Being struck by the sword light or by the immortal sword itself was completely different. The immortal sword pierced through the back of the giant's body, hundreds of feet above the ground, and continued to penetrate deeper. Wang Lin's body was bleeding in many places, and his bones were broken. But he laughed heartily. "Hang Dai, I chopped off one of your arms, and now this trashy giant has also had one cut off." What a perfect match! He raised his right hand, and the giant's severed arm immediately fell into Wang Lin's hand. A flash of green light appeared in his hand, and the giant arm instantly shattered, with many ice blocks falling from above. Its size immediately reduced by half. At this moment, fierce black light flashed above the chariot. This black light converged towards the beast's soul, causing the beast's soul to swell even larger, its eyes gleaming with a malevolent look. The giant roared, its body lunging forward, charging straight towards the arm. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light, and he spat out a beam of white light, instantly enveloping the severed arm, exerting all his strength. The severed arm shattered once again, then shrunk again. The giant leapt forward with incredible speed, his left hand throwing a punch. Boom! Wang Lin's body recoiled, suddenly disappearing from his spot. Where Wang Lin had just stood, cracks immediately appeared. When he reappeared, Wang Lin was standing beside the immortal sword, reaching out to grab it. "Break!" Wang Lin shouted. His severed arm, enveloped in white light, shattered once again, peeling off many chunks of ice, then shrinking by half. At this moment, the severed arm was only the size of a normal person's arm. The giant spun around, unleashing another lightning-fast punch. Wang Lin raised his immortal sword and slashed downwards. Just then, the illusory image of the flexible whip on the giant's chest suddenly flashed. Wang Lin's expression changed, and he raised his immortal sword to shield himself. But the flexible whip suddenly moved downwards, piercing through the immortal sword and striking Wang Lin. Boom! Wang Lin spat out fresh blood. His body was thrown back more than 10 meters, falling to the ground. His primordial spirit was also pulled out, flying 100 meters away. The giant's eyes flickered with a dark light. Ignoring his primordial spirit, he swung his fist and advanced towards Wang Lin's body. War Chariot, open. Wang Lin's primordial spirit's eyes flashed. After a long time, the divine chariot finally fully opened. The soul beast on top of the chariot roared and rushed out. The iron chains on its body had completely disappeared. But this time, it didn't head towards the giant, but towards Wang Lin's primordial spirit, attempting to swallow it whole. Vile beast! Wang Lin's eyes flashed, his hands formed a hand seal, and he pointed in front of his body. Immediately, an iron chain shot out from inside the chariot, instantly locking onto the soul beast. The soul beast struggled violently, roaring and refusing to change direction, clearly intending to devour Wang Lin whole. At this moment, the giant approached Wang Lin's body, grinning ferociously as he brought down a punch. Suliguo! Wang Lin's primordial spirit roared. The immortal sword, held by his body, suddenly let out a roar, and a black aura appeared above it, controlling the immortal sword to block in front of Wang Lin's body. Boom! The giant's fist struck the immortal sword, the recoil immediately pushing him back several steps. But Suliguo within the immortal sword also let out a weak cry, the immortal sword clattering to the ground before falling silent. The giant's eyes flashed, and he advanced again. Just then, more iron chains flew out from the chariot, locking onto the soul beast and dragging it back. The roaring soul beast, unwilling to give up, immediately turned its rage towards the roaring giant and charged forward. The giant immediately raised its head, no longer focusing its attack on Wang Lin's body, but instead unleashed a punch at the charging soul beast. Boom, boom, boom! A series of attacks landed, and the giant and the soul beast engaged in battle. The soul beast roared and attacked, but each time it was blocked by the giant's punches. Enraged, it opened its mouth wide. Instantly, its mouth grew enormous, swallowing the giant whole. However, as it swallowed, the soft whip inside flashed, lashing out and pulling the soul beast down. The soul beast immediately felt pain, its body shrinking slightly. Crack! Crack! The soft whip lashed down repeatedly. The soul beast roared fiercely, its eyes flashing with ferocity, and it desperately bit down. Its massive body suddenly pierced through the giant's body. The giant's body trembled, and numerous cracks appeared on its surface. One by one, the ice blocks fell away, and his body shrank further. He was now only to Zhang Tao, and signs of melting appeared on his right shoulder. Just as the soul beast was about to bite again, Hong Dai opened her eyes, and the dark energy that had been suppressed between her eyebrows formed a black line. Kanjixian, reveal your true form. Hong Dai's voice was urgent and tinged with a sinister tone. Immediately, a snow-white whip appeared in the giant's left hand. This whip was not an illusion, but a real whip. Trembling slightly, the whip furiously lashed at the soul beast. The soul beast, in pain, became even more ferocious. It was about to retaliate when it suddenly let out a mournful cry, turning its head to look at the chariot. After all, it was now a soul body, restricted by the chariot. Moreover, Wang Lin's method of controlling it was inaccurate, preventing it from unleashing its full power. This time, under continuous attack, it immediately sensed the chariot's summoning. Unwilling to give up, the soul beast roared to the heavens, its body gradually dissolving, transforming into a stream of black gas that flew into the chariot and disappeared. Wang Lin's primordial spirit, taking advantage of the soul beast's fierce battle, returned to his body. Furthermore, he had consumed a medicinal pill, and his spiritual power was now balanced. He immediately grabbed his immortal sword, unleashed a burst of spiritual power to restore Suligwo, and then raised the sword to strike. Wang Lin's sword light shot forward with immense force. The giant roared, his left hand swinging forcefully, colliding with the sword light. Then his body instantly retreated, stomping his foot on the ground, causing the earth to crack and instantly flee into the distance. Chase! Wang Lin's eyes flashed with coldness as he drew his sword and pursued. Hong Dai's expression was grim. Today's battle was several times more difficult than the one in the mortal world years ago. She couldn't believe that in just a few decades, Zheng Yu had acquired such skill. Recalling her past in the immortal realm, she relentlessly pursued this man, and Zheng Yu had fled for his life, utterly powerless to resist. Although she later stopped pursuing him out of fear that he might obtain a treasure from the collapsing immortal realm, she never truly regarded Wang Lin as a threat. In her heart, Zheng Yu was not on the same level as her. He was weak, a reptile, a creature born to obey the powerful. She had killed many cultivators like Wang Lin during her time clearing out remnants of the Four-Sex Alliance. Even in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, she maintained this mindset. This was her pride. But this pride crumbled instantly after Wang Lin severed one of her arms. She couldn't tolerate a small, weak cultivator daring to ambush her. Her hatred for Wang Lin had reached its peak. She was determined to kill Wang Lin to regain her peace of mind. She even went so far as to bring out the Ice God, a treasure of the Snow Region Kingdom, to kill him. Even her senior brother secretly brought out the heavenly jade sex treasure, the Kanji Immortal, to win her favor. Hong Dai herself never thought she would need to use the Kanji Immortal. She had always believed that with the Ice God in her hand, plus her life-bound magic weapon, killing this Zheng would be as easy as taking candy from a baby. However, she had heard many rumors about the Kanji Immortal, and although she was somewhat tempted, she didn't refuse it, instead hiding it within the Ice God, preparing for a surprise victory. But now, after several exchanges, the battle between the two had reached a critical point. This Zheng Yu continuously unleashed destructive treasures, far exceeding her imagination, especially the soul beast just now, which was incredibly ferocious. Hong Dai admitted to herself that if she hadn't lacked the strength later on, and the soul beast continued its attack, she would have certainly suffered a crushing defeat without the Kanji Immortal. At this moment, she could only flee. The Ice God was also extremely weakened. After being injured many times, he had shrunk to only to Zhang Tao. If he continued to shrink further, he would completely disintegrate. She had only fled twice in her life. The first time was when she was weakened in the immortal realm and forced by Wang Lin, and the second time was now. Being forced to flee twice by the same person was like a slap in the face, making her feel extremely humiliated. At the same time, Her hatred grew even stronger. Wang Lin then pursued relentlessly, his face grim as he watched Han Dai constantly shifting to escape ahead, saying, "Han Dai, where is your arrogance? As the favored daughter of the Vermilion Bird Star, do you really think you can run away when facing a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator like me, Zheng Niu? I can't kill you. I'm not Han Dai, soul separation." Han Dai, enraged, immediately stopped fleeing. She was incredibly proud. Even though she knew the other party was provoking her, she was still willing to risk her life. Immediately, a strange transformation occurred. In her scream, the lost rose reappeared before the giant's body. However, this rose now had two stamens. At this moment, Han Dai closed her eyes without hesitation. Her primordial spirit unexpectedly split in two, one of which entered the stamen through her eyebrows. Immediately, the two stamens merged, forming a body enveloped in a pink mist, highlighting a graceful figure. The figure, upon appearing, instantly revealed its form. This clone is completely identical to Hong Deep, except that this clone has all four limbs. Hong Dai's clone opened its eyes, its gaze calm, a stark contrast to Hong Dai's true self on the giant's forehead in temperament. If Hong Dai was cold and emotionless, this clone was devoid of joy or sorrow, silently elegant. Zheng Niu, even if it means the short time until the nascent soul transformation is hopeless, I swear I will kill you. Hong Dai's true self's eyes blazed with hatred. This clone was prepared by her for her own nascent soul transformation, nurtured with secret techniques to lessen the difficulty and increase the chances of success. She wouldn't summon this clone unless absolutely necessary. But now, to kill Wang Lin, she wouldn't hesitate to pay any price. The clone contained no spiritual power. Although it was formed from her primordial spirit, it contained Hong Dai's lifelong understanding of the heavenly Tao. And the emotionless state of mind within the clone had been accumulated many times over. The realm of absolute emotionlessness. Hong Dai's true body and clone simultaneously opened their mouths. Immediately, the clone flew forward, a seven-colored radiance flashing around it, entering the world to gather the emotions of the world. Then wielding the sword of wisdom to sever all kinds of emotions, this is the stage of utter heartlessness, Hong Dai's clone murmured softly, its voice melodious and pleasant to the ear. Guiding emotions, suddenly, the heavens and earth changed color, and a strange force instantly enveloped the sky and earth. A cluster of seven-colored radiance condensed on Hong Dai's clone and blew towards Wang Lin. Family affection, the two streams of radiance shattered, revealing a man and a woman. The man's temples were pale, the woman's eyes filled with love. Love. Li Muwen's figure emerged from the transforming radiance, staring at Wang Lin in astonishment, her eyes revealing boundless sorrow. Hatred, Tang Ichue Yuan laughed ferociously, tearing through the radiance and emerging. In his hands fluttered countless souls, the souls of the suffering members of the Wang family pleading for help. Enlightenment, Ding Danyu and his descendants for 3 generations emerged from the radiant light, staring at Wang Lin in astonishment. Danyu opened his mouth to say something, but no sound came out. Wang Lin's movements slowed slightly, then stopped completely, and he sat down cross-legged in midair. His primordial spirit emerged from between his eyebrows, flying through the air, and he murmured, under the cycle of reincarnation, the heavenly way of life and death. Suddenly, the sky seemed to be torn apart by a giant hand, and a huge crack appeared in the void. Inside the crack, a gigantic black and white landscape painting suddenly unfolded. In the painting, mountains and rivers stretched everywhere. If one looked closely, the scenery seemed to move as if it were real. Amidst a cycle of life and death, Wang Lin's primordial spirit's eyes shone brightly as he observed each figure before him, his eyes filled with a complex expression. Wisdom sword, Hong Dai's clone shouted again. A massive 7-colored sword image appeared in front of Hong Dai's clone. Slash! Wang Lin's parents perished instantly with that slash. Next came Li Muwen. Danyu and his father were killed by Tang Ichue Yuan's palm strike. Finally, Tang Ichue Yuan laughed viciously and with a sweeping sword image, disappeared. Heartless, Hong Dai's clone's face showed weariness as she raised her right hand, pointing her delicate finger at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's primordial spirit trembled, his eyes dimming. He also raised his right hand, pointing towards the painting of life and death in the air. Even those who are heartless cannot escape the cycle of birth and death. How can worldly emotions be severed so easily? Though the sword of wisdom is long, how can it cut through the cycle of reincarnation? Wang Lin said softly. From within the scroll of reincarnation, two streams of black and white energy immediately emerged. The two streams of energy merged, forming a cloud of reincarnation energy that dispersed from the scroll, transforming into a gigantic finger that blocked the path of Hong Dai's clone. Hong Dai's clone trembled, smiled bitterly, and shook her head, saying, "If I could undergo the transformation of the soul, even the cycle of birth and death would inevitably contain the meaning of heartlessness. Otherwise, this reincarnation cannot be reincarnation. What a pity," the clone sighed softly, its body slowly dissipating and disappearing into the heavens and earth. Hong Dai's physical body spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, her primordial spirit instantly injured. However, the hatred in her eyes was involuntarily replaced by a look of enlightenment. Wang Lin's primordial spirit returned to his body, his face even paler under the shock. This battle of intense, seemingly gentle, was actually extremely perilous. In Hong Dai's realm of heartlessness, the moment the wisdom sword struck, Wang Lin's primordial spirit was already injured. If his abilities hadn't surpassed the mid-stage of the God transformation realm, and his understanding of the life and death intent hadn't deepened, he would certainly have suffered the destruction of his primordial spirit. Even now, his life and death intent could only barely surpass Hong Dai's by a hair's breadth, because Hong Dai was right. The cycle of reincarnation in the heavenly Tao is inherently ruthless. The difference between unintentional and ruthless, though only a single word apart, is immense. Therefore, in this battle of intent, Wang Lin has won. In fact, for cultivators, the so-called struggle for intent is a mutual test. "I understand." Hong Dai's eyes flashed with a strange light as she murmured to herself. Then her gaze suddenly shifted to Wang Lin. The hatred in her eyes completely vanished, restoring the icy, ruthless look she had when she first met Wang Lin before entering the immortal realm. Wang Lin decided in his heart that Hong Dai possessed extraordinary talent. He hadn't expected her to comprehend something in this battle of intent. This woman must be killed, otherwise, he would never have a moment's peace. Wang Lin's body moved slightly, his left hand patted his storage bag, and he took out a Forbidden's banner. The Forbidden's banner trembled, and countless Forbidden's artifacts roared out, forming a black spear in front of him. The LSS Ng TCACM Key, Ting Trin Ting Bang Bang Ti Trong Trian Ra, Then Kang LSC King Elen, Kang Inge Kang Day, Hu Kang Jian Kanti Lathan MT Min, Fat Ra Ki Tic Hung MDN, Tone BNCM Ki NT Valbin Trong Se Thong, K Lobby Ohio MDN and CACM Fian Sao Ki Ko Chit Than 2. Trong Thong Run Lan, Vibang Lam Lao Non Ti, Tian Kim Trong Te Hang Via Fia Sao Jate Nyan Vung Lan, Kim Kwang Go That Fong Ti, Miem. Gi Kyun LS Kia Gaulan MT Ting, Gim Chen Jing Jate MT Kai, Then M Chen Bei Lan Turgi. Hen Hang Luan Du Quian Had Rotha Trong Thong CAV Bang Lam G Hong Vau Hen Hai Pai Jia Long Mei Cia Hen Non Na Chin Cam Ti. Gi Kyun LS That LN Kia Te Tri Raji. Hen Kim Kwan Theo Sat Fia Sao Gin Kyun Kem Jung. Boom! The giant roared tragically, his left hand lowered, then involuntarily released the spear, which immediately pierced his body. But because the giant had pressed his hand down, the spear didn't hit Hong Dai but instead pierced his neck. Boom! The giant's eyes darkened with a gloomy light, and he descended from the air. Hong Dai took a deep breath, her right hand touching her forehead, and immediately her body flew out of the giant's body into the air. Her body was extremely weak at this moment, her life-bound magic weapon was destroyed, her clone's mental realm was destroyed, her primordial spirit was severely injured, and the destruction of the ice giant added to her misfortune. This was exactly the same as when she was in the immortal realm all those years ago. But she vaguely had a glimmer of enlightenment. At this moment, she no longer struggled with her thoughts. She believed that after fully understanding this flash of enlightenment, killing Zhang Ni would be as easy as pie. Looking at the giant again, countless cracks appeared on its body. After falling to the ground, it shattered, melted into water, and disappeared, leaving only a snow-white whip. Hong Dai flicked her right hand, and the Kunji immortal whip flew towards her. How could Wang Lin let her succeed? This whip was something he absolutely had to obtain. With a slight movement of his body, his spear thrust forward, transforming into a black streak that instantly wrapped around the Kunji immortal whip. Hong Dai's expression changed, and she shouted, "You dare! What's there to be afraid of?" Wang Lin laughed heartily, wrapping the Kunji immortal whip around him and pulling it backward. At the same time, the immortal sword in his hand flashed forward, transforming into a roaring sword light, blocking Hong Dai so that he could seize it himself. Hong Dai's face darkened. After hesitating for a moment, she released her grip and retreated to dodge the sword light, coldly staring at Wang Lin. Zheng Niu, this Kanji immortal whip has the seal of the Heavenly Jade sect on it. Even if you steal it, you won't be able to use it. The black line between Hong Deep's eyebrows slowly faded as she spoke, eventually leaving no trace. She understood that in the battle of intent, although her clone had been destroyed, the nascent soul stage would be extremely difficult, with no shortcuts left. But with her previous understanding, she believed that with a few decades of seclusion, she could successfully break through to the nascent soul stage using her own abilities. She took a deep breath, and in an instant, 4 streams of light burst forth from her body, each positioned at the 4 corners of the east, west, south, and north. When the light dissipated, 4 figures were revealed within: the metal spirit, the wood spirit, the water spirit, and the fire spirit. Except for the earth spirit, all 5 innate spirits had appeared. These were Hong Deep's ultimate treasures, her innate talent, and the source of her life. Holding the Kanji immortal whip in his hand, Wang Lin's divine consciousness swept over it, and his heart immediately sank. This whip indeed had a powerful seal, completely impenetrable. Wang Lin snorted softly, putting the whip into his storage bag. Then his eyes flickered, staring intently at the 4 spirits. In today's battle, Wang Lin was extremely seriously injured. Not only were his body wounded in many places, but his primordial spirit was also greatly depleted. It could be said to be a fierce battle. For spirits, my heaven-defying pearl will be perfected today thanks to you. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light as he muttered to himself. Hong Dai stared at Wang Lin, her left hand forming a hand seal, pointing forward, and softly chanting, "For spirits killing formation." After saying that, she immediately retreated, flying away quickly. She no longer had the heart to fight again and was preparing to leave this place. Wang Lin was about to pursue, but the 4 spirits immediately moved slightly, transforming. The afterimage flashed towards Wang Lin in an instant. Wang Lin's eyes flickered, and he immediately retreated. The Forbidden's banner in his hand trembled, and the Forbidden spear reappeared, thrusting towards the Golden Spirit. The Golden Spirit moved swiftly, striking the spear head-on. Wang Lin swung his immortal sword, flashing forward. The wood spirit immediately dodged, and at the same time, along with the water spirit, transformed into a rainbow and approached Wang Lin. Wang Lin snorted softly. Back then, before reaching the god transformation stage, facing these 5 element spirits was extremely difficult. But now, he had reached the mid-stage god transformation, and he had long prepared for how to collect the 5 spirits from Hong Dai's hands. At this moment, his eyes were calm, and he patted his storage bag. Immediately, 9 carved wooden statues flashed into existence. All 9 wooden statues contained the time and space intent. Except for 2, the remaining 7 were carved from reincarnation wood. The aura emanating from him was far more powerful than that of Ching Song back then. "Time," Wang Lin murmured softly. Immediately, an invisible wave of energy emanated. The movement of the 4 spirits slowed down instantly. Wang Lin's speed was incredibly fast. His body flashed, and he captured the metal spirit with a single move. At the same time, he tapped the void with his foot, and the wood spirit was immediately bound. Then, ignoring the remaining 2 spirits, he moved slightly and pursued Hong Dai in the distance. Hong Deep was 100 yards away, her face pale. She hadn't expected that after 3 such battles, Wang Lin would still possess such a powerful magical artifact. Her heart ached. Today, no matter what, she had to kill this man. She had to force him to use up all his magical artifacts, and finally, she would use her own spiritual power to determine the winner. Only then could she kill him with a single blow. She muttered ominously, "Golden Spirit, explode." Wang Lin, holding the Golden Spirit in his hand, immediately trembled, and a destructive force emanated from it. Wang Lin instantly released his grip, his body swiftly moving away. As for the wood spirit, he still held it in his grasp from a distance. Boom! The Golden Spirit self-destructed. Nothing was unbreakable. Although Wang Lin had moved away, the shockwave still caught him. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, his body immediately weakening and collapsing. His power, after being injured several times, immediately became unstable, dropping to only the early stage of the god transformation realm. After falling to the ground, Wang Lin immediately took out a pill from his storage bag and swallowed it. His body flashed violently, appearing in front of Hong Dai, his right hand forming a hand seal and pressing downwards, shouting, "Hong Dai, prepare to die." Hong Dai's eyes flashed, and she whispered, "Three spirits, explode together." The three spirits on all sides immediately trembled, and three streams of destructive energy spread out wildly, causing Wang Lin's face to change drastically. Hong Dai's eyes were icy cold, devoid of any expression. She stared at Wang Lin and said, "If you insist on killing me, then we will die together." Wang Lin's eyes were cold, and without hesitation, he pressed down with the hand seal. For the first time, a look of bewilderment appeared in Hong Dai's eyes. But at this moment, a gentle force suddenly descended from the sky. The three spirits, which were about to explode, were instantly enveloped in a layer of golden light, interrupting their self-destruction and causing them to vanish. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Hong Dai. This person was Gongsun Po from the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. He casually waved his right hand, and Wang Lin's body involuntarily retreated more than 10 meters. Wang Lin stared at Gongsun Po with a grim expression, remaining silent. The force was too powerful. He couldn't resist. Facing Gongsun Po, Wang Lin had no chance of counterattacking, let alone with his severely injured body. "Zheng Niu, you've won. Go to Vermilion Bird Mountain to fulfill your orders, and someone will arrange everything for you. From now on, you will be an external disciple of our Vermilion Bird Kingdom. For external disciples, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom can fulfill one wish for you. Think carefully, then come to Vermilion Bird Mountain and tell us." After Gongsun Fa finished speaking, he extended his right hand towards the three spirits and grabbed them. Immediately, the three spirits flew towards him, and he caught them, merging them into Hong Dai's forehead. However, as the wood spirit flew away, Wang Lin gritted his teeth and suddenly slashed with his immortal sword. The wood spirit let out a pained cry, half its body falling to the ground. Wang Lin caught it in his arms, gently rubbed it, and transformed it into a blue crystal, placing it in his storage bag. Having done that, he looked up at Gongsun Fa. "Hemp, how audacious! I won't pursue the matter of you taking the spoils this time. But your wish is cancelled." Gongsun Fa coldly glanced at Wang Lin. Then he pointed at the void. The gold spirit, which had just self-destructed, unexpectedly reformed. The old man pressed it down, and it merged back into Hong Dai's forehead. Hong Dai's face flushed, and she respectfully said, "Thank you, elder." Gongsun Fa paid no attention to Hong Dai's expression, coldly snorted, and extended his right hand towards Wang Lin, saying in a low voice, "Give me the Kunji Immortal Staff." Wang Lin stared at Gongsun Fa, remaining silent for a moment. Seeing the other party's impatience, he sighed inwardly. In the cultivation world, everything depends on skill, so he reluctantly took the Kunji Immortal Staff from his storage bag and handed it over. Gongsun Fa raised his right hand to grasp the Kunji Immortal Staff in the air and pointed his left hand forward, immediately causing a light portal to appear. "Let's go!" Gongsun Fa stepped inside. Han Dai followed closely behind, turning back to coldly look at Wang Lin, and whispered, "Next time, you will definitely die." At this moment, Han Dai was unaware that her life only had 3 days left. A mysterious conspiracy, revealed through the words of a mysterious figure on Mount Shuke, was gradually unfolding. Wang Lin stepped through the light portal, and when he emerged, the altar was surprisingly empty, as if everyone had vanished. Looking around, he saw only himself standing on the altar. A jade slip floated in the air, emitting a gentle light. Wang Lin raised his right hand and grasped the jade slip. His divine consciousness swept through it. Inside was a map depicting Vermilion Bird Mountain. He remained silent for a moment, then sat cross-legged in meditation. After the battle with Hong Dai, he was severely injured. At this moment, his cultivation was unstable. Although he had taken elixirs, he couldn't recover quickly, only managing a rudimentary adjustment. To fully recover, he needed to go into seclusion to recuperate. After a long while, darkness fell. Wang Lin stood up and patted his storage bag, and the Wen beast flew out. Wang Lin sat on it, transmitted a divine thought, and then continued to meditate. The Wen beast then flew away. In the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, the night was extremely silent. The moon began to rise high, its light enveloping the entire land. 3 days later, behind Vermilion Bird Mountain, within the Forbiddance area, a strange scene appeared. Vermilion Bird Mountain was the sacred land of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Only the Vermilion Bird's palace was on this mountain, the rest was Forbidden's territory. No one could enter without the Vermilion Bird's permission. This Forbidden's area was not large, merely a large cave. This cave was divided into 4 levels. At this moment, in the second level, there were 2 deep pools. Both pools emitted plumes of white mist. As these 2 streams of white mist rose to the back of the cave, they immediately transformed into distinctly different forms. One stream of white mist, upon reaching the top, instantly turned into cold mist, spreading in all directions. The other stream of white mist instantly transformed into countless red mist particles, disappearing into the rock walls at the top. These 2 pools, one cold and one hot. The cold pool was formed from the 30,000-year-old ice of the heavenly frost star. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom paid a huge price to acquire it. The blazing pool was formed from the 30,000-year-old immortal flame of the fire flame star. A similar price was paid to obtain it. Around these 2 pools are 99 supreme grade spirit stones arranged into different formations, emitting unimaginable bursts of spiritual power. At this moment, inside the 2 pools, a man and a woman are sitting cross-legged. The man sits in the blazing pool, the woman in the cold pool. They are both dressed in white, meditating and cultivating. The man's appearance isn't particularly handsome, but he possesses an aura of something sinister. This aura isn't repulsive. On the contrary, it somehow makes people feel a sense of familiarity. The woman's appearance is no less stunning than Hong Dai's. Describing her as having unparalleled beauty wouldn't be an exaggeration. On the other hand, besides her appearance, the woman also exuded a captivating aura, further enhancing her attractiveness. If it were Wang Lin, he would surely find her very familiar. At this moment, an old man, his entire body emitting a red light, flew in from outside the cave and stopped in front of the 2. The old man's appearance was surprisingly identical to the scruffy old man who had given Wang Lin the straw hat all those years ago. However, their auras were completely different. They were clearly not the same person. After a long while, the old man slowly said, "Qian Feng." The man and woman inside the flame pool immediately opened their eyes, their gazes becoming even more sinister. He looked at the old man, his expression changed, and said in a deep voice, "Qian Feng greets the ancestor. Hong Dai is in the secret chamber. You should devour her spiritual power and intent." The old man stood in the red light, his voice full and tinged with sorrow. The man's eyes flashed, and he said in a low voice, "Hong Dai." But she's the favored daughter of the snow region. When he mentioned the favored daughter, he pursed his lips, a hint of mockery in his eyes. That's her absolute emotion realm has broken through in the battle with Zhang Niu, almost reaching perfection for the first time. But before she fully comprehends it, you must devour it. Within the absolute emotion realm, there are many other realms. That way, seizing the title will have a much higher chance of success. She is someone I spent many years searching for and nurturing until today. The old man spoke slowly. The man stood up, and immediately bursts of white energy emanated from his body. He walked out of the fiery pool, his eyes revealing a sinister glint, muttering, "Zhang Niu, I wonder if his current abilities can withstand a move containing 1/10 of my cultivation. Hong Deep, this girl, it's a little regrettable." The old man feels a bit reluctant about some things. "Well, you go." The old man sighed softly. The man smiled and said, "Ancestor, you always feel regretful. The title of Vermilion Bird, except for the foreign cultivators, cannot be given to anyone else except me and my junior sister." After saying that, his body slowly faded away, leaving no trace. Inside the secret chamber, Hong Deep was sitting cross-legged, recovering her abilities. After a long time, she opened her eyes and lowered her voice, saying, "Zhang Niu, next time I will definitely kill you. Let me fulfill this wish for you." A gentle voice suddenly appeared in the secret chamber. "Who?" Hong Deep's eyes widened. A sinister figure emerged from the void. He glanced at Hong Deep, smiled, and said, "I am Qian Feng." After saying that, he casually pointed his right hand forward. Hong Deep's expression changed, and she formed a hand seal with her left hand. Immediately, a crimson light emanated from her body. The man shook his head, a hint of mockery in his eyes. He raised his right finger and pointed, causing the crimson light to instantly dissipate. His fingertip rested between Hong Deep's eyebrows. Hong Deep trembled, wanting to struggle, but the man's finger was like a mountain pressing down on her. She was powerless to resist. What do you want to do? Hong Deep tried to maintain her composure. Qian Feng's eyes were filled with malevolent glints. He leaned down and whispered in Hong Deep's ear, I want your innate spiritual essence and the 4 divine beasts. Unfortunately, Hong Deep's master had miscalculated her fate. The one who truly caused her misfortune was not Wang Lin, but this Qian Feng. In the Forbidden Cave, the old man emitting red energy sighed again. What a pity there is only one vermilion bird. The old man's gaze swept across the woman sitting in the cold pool, and he said in a deep voice, Liu Mi. The woman in the cold pool opened her eyes, her gaze calm, and looked at the old man. This woman was clearly Liu Mi, the heavenly Tao from back then. Thousands of your clones have spread throughout the countries to cultivate and comprehend the heavenly Tao. Among them is a clone cultivating in the Zhuandao sect in Zhao Kingdom. Do you remember a person named Wang Lin? This Wang Lin is a disciple of the Hengyu sect in Zhao Kingdom. The old man said in a deep voice.